Harvest with Greg Laurie. Weekends on the Dove TV, encouraging and informative.
Attention golf lovers and local supporters. Join Rogue Valley Habitat for Humanity's inaugural golf tournament Friday, April 25th at Centennial Golf Course in Medford. 4-person scramble with 9 a.m. shotgun start. $600. Get your dream team, the full VIP treatment, greens fees, carts, prizes, tournament gear, and banquet tickets. Register by March 1st for our early bird special. A free team player pack worth $100. Time to show off those skills while helping local families achieve affordable homeownership. Register at roguevalleyhabitat.org or call 541-261-3520.
I'm holding the many prayer requests that arrive here at the Dove regularly. We're grateful that you include us in your prayer needs. And as a staff, know that we pray over your requests, asking the God of miracles for his answers and help. The Dove is also here for you with the word for you today, an excellent daily devotional free from the Dove. Both of these helpful resources are available for you at thedove.us. The Dove TV, encouraging and informative.
A ministry moment on the Dove.
Now, this new life I live, I don't live it, you don't live it, by the sheer force of our will or dependent on our own energy. We read in verse 4 that just as Christ was raised by the glory of the Father, and that phrase, the glory of the Father, just refers to the energy and power of the Holy Spirit. I mean, we can read it in Romans 8:11 that Jesus was raised by the power of the Holy Spirit. So just as he was raised by the power of the Holy Spirit, that verse said, even so, or in the same way, or in the same manner, by the same means, we should walk in newness of life, by the power of the Spirit, not in our own energy, not by our own will. Romans 8:13, it says, but by the power of the Spirit, you can put to death the sins that the body commits. By the power of the Spirit. That power is available. It can be laid hold of.
A ministry moment on the Dove.
Grab a cup of coffee and start your day right. Join us for Mornings on the Dove.
Welcome. Hey, happy Wednesday. Welcome to Mornings on the Dove, where we're still trying to figure out what's going to happen.
It is Wednesday, right?
It is Wednesday.
Okay, all right.
And that's called Roll with It TV.
Yeah.
And radio. Good morning to you. Happy Wednesday. That is Jerry. That's all you need to know.
Good morning.
And we got a lot going on in the news, and the weather is changing.
Oh, yeah.
And Jerry's mobile office is now getting some fresh snow.
Yeah, and we should, I had a little bit of preliminary drips up at my house this morning.
Yeah.
But right around 10 o'clock or so, we might see something.
Yeah, it's coming and going over the next couple of days.
But at least it's going to stay white on the top of the hill. Alice was pleased with this, as long as we don't get it anywhere else.
Oh, gosh. We had one of the biggest valley snows probably in 20 years.
This year we did. Yeah, absolutely.
All right, happy Wednesday to you. A lot going on in the news. Man. We'll get into all of that, but let's start the day right. What's up?
Well, first of all, it's National Working Moms Day.
Oh, well, God bless the working
What mom is not working? Whether you're still in the house
or it's Mom's Day.
Yeah.
It's another term for Mother's Day.
Yeah, whether you're getting paid for it or not, you are working. And of course, we can look back at our moms. My mom did both. She was a farm wife at one point, and then at another point, she was a business person. She was,
oh, really?
Yeah, she owned, my dad and her basically opened up 2 beauty shops. She got her cosmetology license when I was like in junior high school, and she went to work, and she was something. I remember, in fact, she was so good. I remember my dad had heart surgery, and I was he was in intensive care. He had tubes coming out of everywhere, and I'm sitting there. I come to visit him. My mom looks at me and says, "You need a haircut."
No,
I said, "Yeah, I do." She goes, "I got my scissors here." And so she started cutting my hair.
In the hospital.
And in the hospital, my dad's sitting there watching TV with tubes coming out of everything.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, the door opens a little bit, and a nurse steps in and then steps out.
Yeah.
And a couple minutes later, the door opens again. There's like 4 nurses. She said, "See, I told told you she's cutting his head.
Yeah.
My mom was always a working mom. Love you, Mom.
Okay. Well,
also, National Registered Dietitian Nutritionist Day. Maybe your mom is that. In fact, I think all moms are. Keeping an eye on what you're eating, and it's an important thing. It's also National Plant a Flower Day. Spring is right around the corner. In preparation, get something in the ground. I saw daffodils up at my place, which are usually later than down here in the valley, but it is that time. Spring is
we're getting that afternoon temperatures to push them out.
Absolutely. And only one thing to eat. Do you like scallops? National Baked Scallops Day. Found in all the world's oceans. They are one of the most popular shellfish in the world and highly prized as a food source. There are two fleshy parts of the scallop that are usually sold at the market for human consumption. The adductor muscle is the white medallion of meat, which is rich and sweet. This is the piece that is most familiar as the scallop that we see on the menu. There's another part that's not as good, so we'll leave it to this. But
the scallop is interesting. By itself, it doesn't have any flavor.
Yeah.
But when you cook it with all the other stuff, it's wonderful.
It's kind of like your coffee. It's a carrier.
Well, yeah. It's a carrier. Yeah, it is. That's cool.
So enjoy. That's what we have to eat today. And again, our hats off to all you moms out there.
All right, good stuff all the way around. All right, where's the guy that oysters, Rockefeller? Let's see what else he eats. Clams. He likes these scallops. And
a little Tabasco on it.
A little. Here he is.
As another in a series of low-pressure systems takes aim at the Pacific Northwest, today in northern Oregon and southern Washington, rain mainly before 11 a.m., then showers with daytime high temperatures in the low 50s for Vancouver, Portland, Wilsonville, and McMinnville. Continuing down the Willamette Valley with rain this morning, then showers likely with daytime highs in the low 50s from Salem through Albany, Corvallis, and Eugene with a light south wind. In central Oregon, rain mainly after 11 a.m. with a high near 55 in Prineville and near 50 in Bend. A chance of rain and snow in Sun River with a high near 45. Over in Boise, Idaho, a chance of rain with highs in the upper 50s. Rain and gusty winds along the Oregon coast with daytime high temperatures near 47 in Brookings and low 50s for Coos Bay, Port Orford, and Crescent City, California, with a south wind gusting up to 39 miles per hour. In southern Oregon, rain for the Rogue Valley with snow levels coming down to around 3,900 feet and daytime highs in the low 50s for Grants Pass and Medford and near 48 in Ashland. In the Klamath Basin, rain and snow in low 40s. Into Northern California, rain and wind advisories in near 45 in Wairika. Showers and wind advisories for Redding, Chico, and Sacramento with highs in the mid-50s and winds gusting up to 34 miles per hour. Rainy and breezy across the Bay Area with daytime high temperatures in the mid-50s for Santa Rosa and Napa, near 58 in San Francisco and 59 in San Jose, with a southeast wind 17 to 22 miles per hour, gusting up to 34 miles per hour. It's a snapshot of your Wednesday weather on the Dove.
Hey, there's a snapshot of Jerry's other office.
Yeah, Mount Ashland.
It's snowing up there.
You can't see a thing.
Can't see a thing. It's snowing up there.
It's black and white.
Yep.
The white is flying and it is dark up there. But anyway, how is the state of your faith? Here, great encouragement with Anne Graham Lotz as she describes a faith that is unshakable.
God is going to set everything right, that all of this is taking place in my life, and I believe in the world for a divine purpose, that God has a purpose in mind, because I believe that there is a one true living God, and I believe He's the creator of the heavens and earth and everything within them. I believe that Jesus Christ is His only Son. That does not mean Jesus is God Jr. It means that He is God, fully God. He is fully God and fully man, God in the flesh. I believe Jesus was born of a virgin. God was His physical father. I believe that He died on the cross to make atonement for my sin. I believe that when I put my faith in Jesus, I'm absolved of my guilt. I'm forgiven of any of my sin, all of my sin, past, present, future. I'm reconciled with God, made right with Him. Heaven is my birthright. I have a right to heaven because I am now the Father's child. I believe Jesus was buried in a borrowed tomb. On the third day, He rose up from the dead. I believe He ascended into heaven where He is even now in His man's physical body, praying for me and getting ready. He's preparing heaven for me, and one day He will come back to this earth to reign and rule. And so I know that in the end of God's story, which we call history, in the end of human history, good will win out over hate, and love will win out over hate, and hope will win out over despair, and peace will win out over war, and God's going to make it all right.
Amen. What a way to start our day. Wow. Man.
That was the gospel in a nutshell.
Absolutely. Oh,
just
good
let
morning.
that sink in. There's
Yes.
nothing you can add to that. That's good stuff. Thank you, Ann. All right, good morning to you. Let's take a look at some of the headlines. And late last night, well, history kind of is in the making. They did pass the House current resolution, and or continuing resolution, I should say, and they passed the budget. The vote ended up being 217 to 213. This is really, really interesting. Only one Republican, Thomas Massey, opposed the legislation, and the only thing I can say about him is you can almost rest assured that President Trump will physically go into your district and campaign against you in 2026. Yeah. And then Jared Golden, from Democrat from Maine, was the sole Democrat that voted for it and crossed the aisle. So it passed 217 to 213. It goes over to the Senate, has a lot of problems over there, but I think the president is really in a great shape here. But here's Speaker Johnson commenting on what happened last night.
This was a clean CR. It freezes funding. It's a responsible thing to do. And we're ensuring that troops continue to get their paychecks and TSA agents continue to do their work and be paid, and essential workers on the border and elsewhere are doing their jobs. It's shameful what happened on the Democrat side. They engaged in a misinformation campaign. They put out talking points about the bill on Friday before the bill was even filed, which was Saturday afternoon. They've been lying and misrepresenting the facts about what's in the bill, and the American people can read it for themselves. It's only 99 pages long. We did our job today, and it's shameful that they will stop at nothing. They will suggest that this bill is something that it's not, and they will run out the clock to shut down the government in a desperate attempt to stop the America First agenda. But I will tell you that President Trump and Republicans in Congress will stop at nothing to deliver on that agenda. We are going to continue to work hard. We will continue to stick together and get this job done, and it's an essential one.
You know what the Democrats' objections are to this CR?
Cuts.
Okay,
basically cuts.
Okay.
I mean,
well, and also the fact Donald Trump was for it.
I mean, that's the bottom line here. But look, this goes over the Senate, and it's going to be tricky on the Senate. Can the Democrats in the Senate and even a Republican in the Senate run the risk of shutting the government down? Everybody talks about shrinking the size of government, cutting expenses. Well, here comes a bill that does exactly that. It's very simple. 99 pages. You remember when there were 4,000 and 5,000 pages?
Yeah, right.
So
remember when we had to pass it to see what was in it?
Yeah. So it gets over there, and I think this is going to be really, really tricky in the Senate because there's a couple of Democrat senators that are in purple states, and they're in a tough spot. What do they do with that?
Yeah. So you think there are going to be some speed bumps in the Senate?
Yes. Yeah. I think what happens is they do what they call there's a term for it, where they run a vote that's not official. And that's where I think you're going to see some Democrats say no, and you might even see a couple of Republicans say no. And I think one of them could even be Rand Paul.
Oh, yeah.
He could say it. So that's what they call a trial run.
Okay.
And then when the final vote comes, they pass it.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, you get the first one, you get all the attention, everybody gets upside down, it gets all the news and the headlines.
Yeah.
A couple hours later, they pass the real one and it goes through.
Okay.
I kind of think that's what's going to happen, but we'll have to wait and see. But look, this is a big win for the president to get this through the House. This is amazing. All right, the other thing is happening. It looks like Ukraine has accepted a deal to cease fire. The question is, will Putin do the same thing? U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio, National Security Advisor Mike Waltz talked about this horrific event going on in Ukraine, and it has to stop. We've all talked about ending the war. Now it's on the table to potentially end the war. So here's Secretary Marco Rubio making comment on this.
The goal here is the only way out to end this war is to negotiate out of it. There's no military solution to this war. The solution to this war and the way to end it and to achieve the president's objective of peace is to negotiate. But before you can negotiate, you have to stop shooting at each other. And that's what the president has wanted to see, and that's the commitment we got today from the Ukrainian side, their willingness to do that. Obviously now that'll be delivered to the Russians. It'll be delivered to them directly through multiple channels. meaning not only will they obviously see it, we've already, it'll be communicated to them through our diplomatic channels, through conversations and other methods, but they'll obviously be well aware. And our hope is that the Russians will say yes, that they will also agree. So the shooting will stop, the killing will stop, the dying will stop, and the talks can begin about how to end this war permanently in a way that's acceptable and enduring for both sides.
Puts a lot of pressure on Putin. If he doesn't accept it, then you know who he is, and it does kind of outline his future. If he does accept it, the question is then, all right, it's a ceasefire. It's not the end of the war. It's a ceasefire to negotiate. So I think he probably goes for the ceasefire, and then you wait and see what the negotiations end up being. The other story is, quite the tariff war between America and Canada. It goes up and down. And as the president was threatening Canada with additional 25% tariffs, the Canadians were responding, and they were literally coming unglued over this. And they threatened to cut off electricity to America. So what does President Trump do?
He threatens another tariff.
He came back and said, on steel and aluminum, we're going to put it from 25 to 50%. Next phone call is from the Ontario Premier, Doug Ford, who says, okay, we'll back down. And here's a little bit about what Ford had to say.
With any negotiation that we have, there's a point that both parties are heated and the temperature needs to come down. And I thought this was the right decision. They understand how serious we are about the electricity and the tariffs. And rather than going back and forth and having threats to each other, we have both agreed, let cooler heads prevail. We need to sit down and move this forward. This is a massive, massive deal. The USMCA, which the federal government will be leading the charge. I'll be sitting down with all our premiers tomorrow as well and discussing this and their issues as well. So we're going to go down there and we're going to go down there with confidence. We're going to go down there with strength. And again, hopefully we can move this forward.
With cooler heads too, maybe?
Well, look, let's back off here because just for a moment. Okay. Would any of this be taking place if there wasn't first a very ambitious action taken by President Trump?
No,
And so where this is all going, in my opinion, I don't know. I'm certainly not privy to the White House by any means, but it seems to me what the president's goal is to equal the tariffs.
It seems to be, yeah.
You're going to charge us 10, we'll charge you 10.
Right.
You charge us 50, we're going to charge you 50. So you start that negotiation by jumping clear over the fence, so to speak, and getting in their face. And that's kind of what happened. Is that good politics? I don't know. Could it be done more diplomatically? Maybe. I don't know. But it's getting done.
It doesn't seem as though this president is too worried about a little bit of volatility in the stock market as well with all of this. He says,
Because, here, first of all, he puts out the tariffs on aluminum and steel to Canada. What's the next thing that happens? They all come to the table.
Right.
He's already backing down on Mexico because they're throwing the cartels over the fence and say, hey, you guys deal with them. And China's, he's starting to back off on China because they're saying, okay, we'll maybe look into the fentanyl thing. I mean, it's happening. So is it all done at once? No. We're in this, what I call the 28-foot miracle world.
And that,
you order your hamburger, you drive 28 feet, and you pick it up. And that's how we think everything is.
It's not?
No.
Come on,
No,
man.
I'm sorry, Derry. I'm sorry. You don't do that.
Give me my fillet of fish to go, please.
No. Yeah, well, there you go. So we think everything's like that. We push a button, something happens. Okay, we go on the phone, boom, we ask Siri, we get an answer. So we want wars and things to end like that, and it just takes a little bit more time. The end of the goal here is equal trade and fair trade. And you have to get kind of radical to bring people around to
And I
join
think
the party.
it's kind of interesting to watch people's reaction as this is such a proactive president that we have. We see things going on every single day, and that wasn't the case before. And especially with the auto pen issue that came up, we're all still scratching our head saying, who really was running the government? And so this is a new day.
It's a new day. And the other thing is, and people, well, I got to be careful here, but the bottom line is we've never had a president that understands money.
Right. Yes.
President Trump understands money. and big amounts of it.
Yes.
And how it works and how it flows. Most presidents, you know, they were there by other means. Not that they were bad or good. It's just that they come into the office. It's kind of like, you know, okay, I'm the prom king now.
Right. Yeah.
It means nothing. No, it's a job.
That's good.
It's a job. You have to do something for it.
Yeah. All right.
Okay. Well, the next couple of stories we have when we come back, hold on to your hat. These are pretty interesting. We'll be right back.
You died. You said in 3 days you would rise. You did. You're alive.
Want to be part of something impactful? Rogue Valley Habitat's first ever golf tournament is teeing off at Centennial Golf Course April 25th, and the smartest businesses in Southern Oregon are jumping in. Sponsorship packages from $500 to $5,000 include course signage, event promotions, and networking opportunities. Top sponsors receive tournament team entry. Ready to be a game changer? Call Tyler Hunter at 541-261-3520 today. Rogue Valley Habitat, building community one home at a time.
If this is what ministry is, God, like, I want nothing to do with it because this is too much for me. I just said, okay, I'm done. Like, I'm going to do me when I want to do me. And that was the moment then that I would say is when I just shut the door on Jesus.
She went ice cold toward God. She went ice cold toward me.
I can't keep living this lie. And so I am just praying for brokenness.
Watch the 700 Club Wednesday morning at 11 on the Dove TV.
A ministry moment on the Dove.
When I was a teenager, I remember I was taken to Johns Hopkins Hospital for surgery. I was frightened at the idea of being paralyzed for the rest of my life. I was only a kid. Well, they pushed my gurney into the old hospital lobby and parked me at the foot of this big statue. I looked up breathless. It was a massive marble figure of Christ with outstretched arms. At its base were the words of Jesus from Matthew 11. Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. That day I was placed directly at the feet of Jesus, and I will never forget the warm embrace of his outstretched arms. I would replay that moment so many times, it became part of my healing. Friend, today, picture yourself at the feet of Christ, because he can lift your burden.
A ministry moment on the Dove.
Welcome back. 20 minutes now past the hour, actually. And, of course, education very much in the news these days. Yesterday, the downsizing of the Department of Education in Washington, D.C. took place. I understand 45% of the staff in the building got a notice yesterday. And the notice that says, accept the buyout, whatever, you know, the typical, let's have a nice day.
Right.
And it's trickling down. Now, this is certainly not news because presidents past have talked about the Department of Education needs to go. So think about this. When President Trump was giving the justification of taking away the Department of Education, at the time we were number 40 in the world. We spent more money for less results than any other nation. Okay? Let's go to Oregon.
Okay.
Oregon ranks 45th worst overall, 51st in what they call educational freedom, 47th in educational choice, and one of the lowest states in the union of reading and math.
No way.
So think about this. If out of 40 nationally, countries, we're number 40.
Right.
And you go to Oregon, and we're number 47 and 45. We're some of the worst education in the world.
Oh, my gosh.
Okay.
Wow.
Well, it is now starting to get the attention of the governor. And she has been saying for months that Oregon Public Schools, listen to this, needs more money and that they need to be held accountable for better academic outcomes.
Oh.
Okay, well, that's the term we haven't heard.
We haven't heard that at all.
We haven't heard that part of
it.
So here's the governor talking a little bit about what she's thinking about education here in the state of Oregon.
The data is clear. Oregon schools are lagging behind other states. And we're here today to propose a path forward to help more. We're not starting from scratch. We are reforming what we have, making it stronger and adding to it. And when it comes to the outcomes for our students, we're seeing more focus on instructional materials. We want to make sure that we have more evidence-based materials, that all the districts are using them. There's also a call for more assessments during the school year that are in real time. I know there's a lot of frustration with some of the testing we do because it's a big test that happens and you don't see the results so even after the end of the school year. I am proposing further support for our districts to use these interim assessments where during the school year they're getting real-time understanding about where their students are so they can continue to work differently throughout the school year. So you're not waiting and catching up, you're continually evaluating where your students are. And remember, there's also a lot of testing that just happens in the classroom without an additional set of assessments. So we all believe in, I think, continuous improvement with our students. We're not going to stand still. We're going to build on what we have and keep adding to the toolkit that districts can have to help their students get to the learning levels that we all know they can achieve.
Bottom line, we need more money.
Right.
And that's where this is going. Look, it's real simple, Oregonians. We need to have a referendum on the ballot soon to allow for school choice.
Yeah, good point, yeah.
If we have school freedom in Oregon, this problem gets solved just like that.
And Teachers Union Randy Weingarten is absolutely opposed to it, and you know that when that is the case, you know it's got to be the right thing.
Well, it's good.
Yeah.
But I will give the governor a little credit here, and that is she's recognizing that our performance levels are some of the worst in the country.
Yeah.
Well, great.
Yeah.
But is this really the solution? Maybe, excuse me, maybe we ought to take a long look at the curriculum itself.
Yeah.
What are we teaching?
Right.
If we can't get a student to read or do basic math problems, then what are we teaching? We're asking them to define themselves with a pronoun, and they don't even know what a pronoun is.
Yes.
If they can't read, they don't know what a pronoun is.
Yes.
So the only thing I can say is that watch this at the national level. It's going to get. I see the Department of Education going completely away. Somebody said the other day, and I don't know this to be true, so I'm just repeating something that's floating around out there. Do we really need all these departments of education?
I don't know.
Don't we need just a state standard, which could be probably could be managed in an office of maybe 20 people, and let all the local school districts implement it?
Yeah. And, you know, I think people are starting to see through this thing.
Yeah.
The solution to all our problems is more money. You know?
Well, let's see how that works.
We just need more money.
Okay, now this next story for you. Hold on to your hat. Governor Newsom is now under a lot of heat these days for his performance. He's trying to be cool and do a podcast. That's starting to backfire.
Oh, yeah.
It's been discovered, excuse me, that he, Governor Newsom himself, secretly paid for his own monument inside San Francisco City Hall.
What?
This monument cost $97,000. It's a bust of him when he was mayor. Okay? So what they're doing here is, then they find out, well, he did get about $15,000 in donations towards it. But for the most part, he paid for his own monument, his own bust, to be inside San Francisco City Hall.
Wow. Wow.
So this is unwinding. There's a new book coming out called Fool's Gold, The Radicals, the Con Artists, the Traitors Who Killed California's Dream and Now Threatens all of us in the United States. And it talks about not only him, Nancy Pelosi, and it goes on, and a bunch of people. I don't want to go through, I'll miss them all. But basically, it is a book on the liberal sellout for not only California, but for the nation. There's no question in my mind that Newsom is running for president.
Right, and there's no question in my mind that he can't run away from his record.
He can't.
He's going to be in it.
Yeah.
You know what? You know what's really cool about doing this show as we go? People respond as we're flying. As we're flying.
We're going to run that on the side of the screen.
Oh, we should. We should get comments on the side, and I got a comment.
Because people will read that and not pay attention to
this. This is on our Oregon education issue that we were just talking about, and this person is involved in education in our state. And says, but it's a trap because the governor is going to want schools to use her culturally appropriate curriculums. Her Department of Education is super woke. Yes, school choice is the answer. There you go.
There you go.
Thank you.
You know who you are.
Yeah,
I have to say this. I've been watching some television on Sunday morning where pastors are preaching and they're running the comments on the side of the screen from people like that texting in.
Yeah.
My opinion, knock it off. Okay.
All right.
You know why?
Why?
Because you're reading those, you're not paying attention.
Oh, yeah.
And you're not feeling, hearing, and sensing what God is trying to communicate to you.
Yes.
Knock it off.
You're right.
That's my 2 cents, and that's why you won't see it here on the
But keep them coming
here. You really
here.
need to hear what Jerry's saying about things. So we're not going to run on the side of the screen.
We're not doing it.
We ain't doing that.
We'd have trouble keeping up with it anyway.
All right. I want to prove the point. Watch the weather here. Watch this.
All right. What do you see coming our way?
Well, look at that storm out there.
Yeah.
So we are on and off showers over the next several days and perhaps through the weekend.
Yeah.
Mild temperatures below, but some fresh snow up top.
And look at this. When I'm looking today, look at 100% chance of rain today. All the way through, we got one break on Tuesday, but all the way through next Thursday.
Okay.
So this looks good. Now, spring is right around the corner, but hey, a little more moisture, a little bit of snow up in the upper elevations, rain down here. It's all a good thing.
Lake Shasta's full, Immigrant's filling up. Hyatt's even filling up.
Yeah.
It's wonderful.
Yep. Immigrant is in really good shape. I look at it every time I come down the hill.
Yeah.
It's wonderful. So anyway, so check this out. We're talking about growing our economy, but we have this issue in our country as well, is we borrow heavily.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you balance how do you grow economy and go deeper in debt at the same time? Well, Committee for a Responsible Federal Budget President Maya McGinnis joined Maria Bartiromo, and she talked about our economy.
Yeah, so if you look at the plan that they're looking to do in terms of the budget, where we would be cutting taxes, growing some spending and cutting other spending, that is likely to add, after growth, more than $2 trillion to our borrowing. So could we have higher growth? Absolutely. There are a lot of things that will lead to higher growth. Unfortunately, there are a lot of headwinds against additional growth as well. Some things that nobody can control, the aging of society, but also the immigration policies, the tariff policies, those could have less growth. The biggest thing I'm concerned about in terms of anti-growth is all of our borrowing. The more we borrow, the less growth we have. The problem is that every time we've promised to grow our way out of the problem, it has failed to do so. We're going to have to realistically look at our budget and look at our spending. We are spending $86 trillion over the next decade. The budget resolution that they're talking about, the reconciliation, would save $2 trillion. $2 trillion out of $86 trillion. If we want to deal with our fiscal problems, we're going to have to do more in terms of savings than that. That's where the real discussion has to be. Growth is great. One of the best ways we get there is really shutting the deficit. And so far, the policies would actually make the deficit worse.
Well, you can't live on your credit card.
Right. Yeah.
You have the part of the budget says we're a little over a $7 trillion a year budget. $4 trillion of that is mandates. Mm-hmm. And then here comes $1 trillion of it, and growing on a daily basis, the interest on the debt.
Yeah.
You've got to stop this nonsense.
Yeah.
And so it's not popular. Excuse me, I'm sorry, I got this tickle in my throat. It's not popular to those who've been receiving something for doing nothing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Whether they're screaming and hollering. So, but anyway, we'll see how it goes. There isn't a business in the world. You can't do business like this. You're not going to survive.
Yeah.
All right, coming up. Well, let's see. What do we have today? Oh, we have scallops.
Yeah, all day.
By the way, out there in our little revised kitchen area, because we're remodeling here.
Yeah, right.
The guys from Ultra Pure Water came in yesterday.
Yeah.
Did you see it out there?
No.
You haven't seen it?
No.
Oh, well, when you go out the double door there, you'll see a little water cooler.
Okay. Oh, really?
Yeah, and so the guys from Ultra Pure Water came yesterday to bless us with this thing.
Oh, I didn't know this. Okay.
Yeah. So have you ever taken the time to taste the difference in water?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so you're on a well.
Yeah, I'm on a well.
Do you filter?
No. In fact, we are on what we call a sweetwater well.
Oh, you're lucky.
Yeah.
I'm on a well, and I have to run it through a bunch of filters.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And you can taste the difference, but all of a sudden I drank that yesterday when they put that in.
Uh-huh.
Wow.
Okay, well, you got
I made my tea this morning with
I'm
that
ready.
water. Okay, we're going to have an Ultra pure water break.
Okay. I'm still getting mine out of the fountain. Did Jerry watch?
Your property demands equipment with more reliability, durability, and versatility built in. Kubota equipment is ready to get the job done right.
Come fall in love with Northridge Senior Living, where contemporary sunlit interiors meet old world elegance. Walk through our lovely hallways and enjoy the fun staff-led activities. Forge lasting friendships with other residents and our exceptional caregivers. Dine in style. Gather near the fireplace under breathtaking chandeliers. Our reasonably priced apartments are spacious with private balconies. Northridge is Christian owned and operated, pet friendly, and only 2 blocks from Asante Rogue Regional Medical Center. On-site 24/7 in-home care is available. We also offer senior adult daycare where your loved one can spend the day with us and the evenings with you. Northridge Senior Living, your home.
Life is complicated enough. Why worry about what to do with your extra car? Skip the costs of maintaining it, storing it, insuring it, or renewing registration. Car repairs? Forget about it. Here's one easy solution to your car problem. Donate it to our station. It's fast, free, tax deductible, and if you donate, you're going to feel incredible knowing you're supporting quality programming. Interested? Just call this toll-free number or donate online. Thank you.
Welcome back. Happy Wednesday, and a change in the weather. So drive carefully out there. Snow in the hills. Don't think there's going to be, from what I saw already, no problems on the mountain passes.
Right.
But snow at the top, which is good. So Jerry, your little office up there is getting a little fresh dusting.
Yeah.
Down here in the valley, mild temperatures, on and off rain. So, and we're going to be in this pattern for about a week. So hang in there. All right. Well. Throughout the world, there's other things going on. Let's check in with CBN News and get caught up.
This is CBN News Watch.
It's a busy Wednesday. Let's begin in the Middle East, where Israel is warning the new Islamic leadership in Syria to stay away from its borders, as the mass killings seem to have subsided. But Israel says the world should condemn these massacres. CBN Middle East correspondent Julie Stahl brings us the story. She reports from Jerusalem.
Days of mass killings in Syria, led by the new government, left at least more than 1,000 Alawites and Christian minority members dead and thousands of others fleeing.
The suffering is very high. It is a complete extermination of the Alawite sect, of our brothers, the Christians, of our brothers, the Shiite.
Some survivors told us that many men were shot dead in front of their families.
Syria's military says the killing is over for now and calm seems to have returned.
Thank God, today life has returned and people have gone back to their homes. Everything is, thank God, perfectly fine.
Syria's new leader, Ahmed al-Shara, has called for a commission of inquiry and insists the massacres of mostly civilians were not acts of ethnic cleansing, but the crushing of rebel forces attacking the new government. While much of the world's media ignored these mass killings, Israel blasted the radical Islamists now in charge of Syria.
The international community must come to its sense about the regime in Damascus. It's actually about jihad. This is a massacre the whole world should condemn. This is what an ethnic cleansing really looked like.
Israeli forces struck dozens of Syrian military targets Monday night that could prove a threat to the Jewish state. IDF Chief of Staff Eyal Zamir toured the new buffer zone his troops have set up on Mount Hermon and Syrian territory around it. Israel warned Syria's new Islamist government to keep its forces away from Israel.
We are concerned about those jihadist monsters committing a massacre and ethnic cleansing of Jews and Druze within our borders. We will not allow the formation of jihadist threat on our borders with Syria.
But in a sign it's trying to at least appear more moderate, Syria's radical Islamist government signed a deal this week with leaders of the huge Syrian Kurds minority, which had been repressed by the former Assad regime.
The agreement marks a significant step towards unifying Syria, putting an end to the country's 14 years of fracture.
Kurds and their allies are celebrating.
All the people are happy, and they're all one hand. Kurds, Christians, Assyrians, and all other sects. We are all brothers in one country.
Meanwhile, in Qatar, President Trump's Middle East envoy Steve Witkoff is pushing to extend the ceasefire in Gaza another 60 days, with Hamas immediately releasing 10 of the more than 20 hostages who remain alive. But Hamas is pushing back, still insisting on negotiations to end the war permanently, with the terror group apparently still armed and in charge of Gaza. Witkoff and Israel both insist Hamas has to give up its civilian and military power there for the war to end. Julie Stahl, CBN News, Jerusalem.
And our CBN Middle East Bureau Chief Chris Mitchell joins us now from Jerusalem. So, Chris, what more have we learned about the massacre in Syria, and what do we know about what really happened?
Well, we know we're still getting some horrific scenes of slaughter of the Alawites and some Christians as well. Some people estimate more than 10,000 have actually been slaughtered in the last week or so. Videos encouraging killing on sight of any of these Alawite families or members. The Alma Center, which is in northern Israel right now, has done a research on this, and Iran may have actually encouraged some of the Alawites to attack some members of the regime, and they believe this could be retribution on the Alawites for years of the Assad regime that really had put persecution on many of the Sunni members of Israel. But certainly this commission of inquiry that Julie talked about in her story, we wonder, some people speculate, could this be burying the story and just sort of putting a sort of a facade on what really happened and whether or not how much of the regime knew about what happened. It just was horrific scenes for the last week or so. Hopefully it'll be over, but just a horrific time here in the Middle East, and with really ethnic cleansing, as Deputy Foreign Minister Sharon Haskell said.
Wow, amazing. All right, good morning to you. 21 minutes now before the hour, and well, he won't spend $97,000 for a bust of himself, but you know, we could nail a couple of skis across like that.
There you go.
And just put your name below it. he does the weather here. We'll be right back.
As another in a series of low-pressure systems takes aim at the Pacific Northwest, today in northern Oregon and southern Washington, rain mainly before 11 a.m., then showers with daytime high temperatures in the low 50s for Vancouver, Portland, Wilsonville, and McMinnville. Continuing down the Willamette Valley with rain this morning, then showers likely with daytime highs in the low 50s from Salem through Albany, Corvallis, and Eugene with a light south wind. In central Oregon, rain mainly after 11 a.m. with a high near 55 in Prineville and near 50 in Bend. A chance of rain and snow in Sun River with a high near 45. Over in Boise, Idaho, a chance of rain with highs in the upper 50s. Rain and gusty winds along the Oregon coast with daytime high temperatures near 47 in Brookings and low 50s for Coos Bay, Port Orford, and Crescent City, California, with a south wind gusting up to 39 miles per hour. In southern Oregon, rain for the Rogue Valley with snow levels coming down to around 3,900 feet and daytime highs in the low 50s for Grants Pass and Medford and near 48 in Ashland. In the Klamath Basin, rain and snow in low 40s. Into northern California, rain and wind advisories in near 45 in Wairika. Showers and wind advisories for Redding, Chico, and Sacramento with highs in the mid-50s and winds gusting up to 34 miles per hour. Rainy and breezy across the Bay Area with daytime high temperatures in the mid-50s for Santa Rosa and Napa, near 58 in San Francisco and 59 in San Jose, with a southeast wind 17 to 22 miles per hour, gusting up to 34 miles per hour. It's a snapshot of your Wednesday weather on the Dove.
Okay, there's a snapshot of Mount Ashland somewhere up there. You can't even say a thing other than snow flying by.
Yep,
So
a good year continues to get even better.
That's wonderful.
Absolutely. Well, you know, when we hear the phrase, to boldly go where no man has gone before, we know we're about to take a ride on the Starship Enterprise, which came to be on this day in history.
On March 11th, 1964, Gene Roddenberry sat alone in his study looking down at the 16-page pitch for the original Star Trek series. He had spent weeks refining it, crafting a vision of the future unlike anything television had seen. A spacefaring crew and a starship called the Enterprise. Although he publicly marketed it as a Western in outer space, he privately told friends that he was modeling it on Jonathan Swift's novel Gulliver's Travels, intending each episode to act on two levels, as a suspenseful adventure story and as a morality tale. But he wondered, would the network executives see what he saw? Adventure, philosophy, the infinite possibilities of the stars, or would they dismiss it as just another sci-fi show? Roddenberry presented the brief treatment for the television series to Desilu Productions, calling it a wagon train to the stars. Desilu's studio head Lucille Ball was instrumental in approving production of the series, overruling the objections of the Desilu Board of Directors. The studio worked with Roddenberry to develop the treatment into a script, which was then pitched to NBC. They picked up the series, and although it initially had high ratings, it lasted only 3 seasons. But the Star Trek franchise has lived on, becoming one of the most successful in history, with 13 movies and 12 different series, with all series in total amounting to 940 episodes across 49 television seasons.
Can you imagine? They did almost 1,000 episodes of Star Trek.
You know, it's interesting that you look at the beginning production and what we're dealing with here, you know.
Right.
And you look at that and you go, oh my stars, it literally was done in the garage.
Right. Yeah, it looks like it, yeah. And did you notice, you know, to boldly go where no man has gone before, every time they got there was somebody else there?
Yeah.
Like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
So,
was there a McDonald's?
I like the Lucille Ball connection, though. She was a very active studio head, and she really did buck up against the board of directors, and she was the one that called the shots on that one and made it go.
She's quite the businesswoman.
Absolutely.
Yeah, good stuff.
Yeah.
Well, our friend, if I can say that, Alan Dershowitz, you know, emeritus law professor.
He's your buddy.
Well, you know.
Yeah.
He does allow me to talk to him. That's good. Anyway, if you remember, there had the anti-Israel protesters that got arrested, and he's talking about the distinction between speech and conduct. Well, only an attorney could draw that line. Here's what he had to say.
The question is, do they have the right to remain in the United States if they violate American law? Now, the important line to draw is between pure free speech, that is standing up and holding a placard or expressing a view, and blocking access to a classroom or disrupting a classroom. And if this guy or anyone else occupied a building, violated the law in any way, he can be immediately deported, whether he has a green card or just a visa. But if he engaged in pure, protected, free speech under the First Amendment, the issues would be quite different. But the evidence seems to suggest that he went beyond free speech and was involved in illegal activities. We'll wait and see. I'd like to see these 125,000 people also sign a petition saying that you can't discriminate against Jews or Zionists, and you can't intimidate them, and you can't break into classes. So let's draw the appropriate lines. And the appropriate line is drawn at speech versus conduct. Conduct that's not protected by the First Amendment is subject to criminal prosecution. And these 125,000 people should be signing petitions on both sides. We can strike the appropriate balance. Let people protest as long as there's a single standard. You can say anything about Jews that you can also say about blacks and transgenders and gays. But no university, for example, would allow demonstrations calling for the raping of women or the lynching of blacks. And yet they do permit demonstrations in favor of lynching of Jews, as happened to 1,200 of them on October 7th, and the raping of women. So universities have to have a single standard if they want to get funding from the federal government, because they have no right to funding. That's a privilege.
Well, Trump withheld $400 million in funding to the university until they got their act together, and they decided to get their act together. I think federal funding on some of these campuses could be preceded with policy. And, yeah, First Amendment, you can say what you want to say.
Right.
But the moment you disrupt function and you're disrupting the class, that conduct should be dealt with.
Well, he makes a good point between speech and conduct, and especially when it comes to this fellow that he was talking about, who was here on a green card, who was actively stopping students from going to classes and such. Right. I mean, the left is screaming about his free speech rights, but it's gone beyond that. And I think the recourse is to be able to move them out.
Yeah, well, the judge stepped in and said you couldn't do that.
I know.
But now I guess they're going to appeal that. So it's kind of like the left now is going after electric cars. Oh, excuse me, Tesla.
Only Tesla.
The largest electric car manufacturer in the world, and they decided they don't like him anymore.
He was the savior of the world until he said, no, I'm no longer a Democrat.
Okay, we're going to go charge our batteries. We'll be right back.
Finding that next great series to binge watch is fun, but your neck, shoulders, and body don't count that as me time. Hi, I'm Tamara Miller, owner of Organic Element Spa, and I invite you to put down the remote, get off the couch, and schedule yourself some real me or we time with your favorite service, like one of our many massages, couples massages, or facials. Your health, safety, and comfort are always top priority with us at Organic Element Spa. We can't wait to see you. Book your appointment today.
Your yard is where life happens, but it can be muddy and hard to maintain. Enjoy a maintenance-free artificial turf lawn all year round with Smart Lawn LLC. No mowing, no fertilizing, no watering. Our synthetic grass is beautiful and resilient. It's certified to be lead-free, and there's no need for pesticides. Safe for your children and pets. Smart Lawn LLC has all your artificial turf and putting green areas covered beautifully. 541-941-3538.
The National Religious Broadcasters 2024 TV Station of the Year Award winner, theDove TV.
Weekday mornings on the Dove, it's one of the longest running shows in broadcast history. The 700 Club, informative with the day's stories from a biblical perspective.
Israel finds itself fighting.
Trusted investigative reporting.
Our chief political analyst, David.
Encouraging with uplifting stories of faith.
And then she heard a prayer. I immediately felt the Holy Spirit.
Be encouraged and informed with the 700 Club. Weekdays at 11 on the Dove TV. Get more at thedove.us.
Happy Wednesday to you. Changing the weather. Get ready for that. We'll be for over the next week or so. Well, Charlie Kirk, he's kind of interesting. He gets around. Interviewed him twice.
Yeah.
The first interview I did with him, I got him way off track, which was kind of fun.
Oh.
Because he wanted to talk about all this stuff, and his book and all that. And I said, no, I want to talk about you.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and he was a little uncomfortable with it. But I have to tell you this, he's a very devout Christian.
Yes, he is.
Very strong.
Yep.
Anyway, he talks about Americans, and are we sicker than ever? Here's what he had to say.
There is obviously a huge issue in the country with healthcare prices. What do you think is the best way to lower costs for families?
The hospitals are gouging prices significantly. We have to try to get at the root cause, which is the food that we are feeding ourselves and our kids. We have to get to the fact that we are an increasingly sedentary country. We aren't walking enough. We're not exercising enough. And healthcare costs are exploding because we don't actually address the root cause 20 or 30 years prior.
How do we take on those huge food companies?
Well, the first thing is we should have a real conversation about banning pesticides when we're making our food. Ultra processed food. ultra-processed food should not be on the FDA-recommended food pyramid. We have a chronic disease epidemic. It's not because our kids are lazier. It's because we are actively poisoning our kids with food from big ag that we're spraying with all these pesticides, these chemicals. And if you look at the ingredient list of just a Lunchables box, we are basically giving kids the worst thing possible for their metabolism, for their endocrinology. So that I'm more interested in the healthcare conversation that tries to make sure that a 12-year-old doesn't have to get on Ozempic by the time they're 18 years old. And just so you know, they're giving pediatric Ozempic now for 12 and 13-year-olds. They are now treating obesity as a genetic disorder that you cannot do anything about, and they just want a 12-year-old to now have to take a shot every week to try to curb their obesity, which has all other sorts of very, very negative health implications. Every day, potentially, right? And so how do we solve that? Well, my personal crusade, we have to blow up the food pyramid, that we have way too many carbohydrates in our diet, not enough healthy fats, and not enough protein. Whoever made that was obviously bought by the big ag companies, and you should just say, I'm not going to have any more high fructose corn syrup, I'm not going to have any more processed sugars, and if there are ingredients I can't pronounce, I should resist it, and you'll be a lot healthier because of it. So thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Well,
yeah,
I didn't know he was on top of that, too.
He really is. He has spoken out about this quite a bit, and it sounds as though he and RFK Jr. are pretty much on the same page.
Yeah, and it's coming, and I don't know of a parent that's rejecting this.
Right.
The big ags are going to be a problem. Obviously, some of the big companies, food product companies, are going to be a problem. But hey, it's time. We have a problem in America, and it's two big problems. One is called obesity, and the other one's called cancer.
Absolutely.
And we're not addressing it. And to call it genetic, give me a break.
Right, and a lot of it is lifestyle oriented.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah.
So.
Hey, speaking of lifestyle.
Yeah.
I know how to lose weight.
How?
Go skiing.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, okay.
In fact, our good friends up at Mount Ashland have made it a lot easier for all of us, and we appreciate this partnership that we have with them. And, of course, we've been giving away lift tickets. Folks are going over to Rogue Valley Ski Shop and signing up. They got it right on the front counter there. And we're going to conclude it not only with another set of lift tickets, but this gift bag. And it includes 2 ski passes to Mount Ashland. It's got a $100 gift certificate from Organic Element Spa. It's got a $125 gift certificate to Black Flag Armory towards, check this out, a concealed carry class. I love it. That's wonderful.
You can't carry it on the mountain, but you get it in your car.
A 12-ounce package of Good Bean coffee from the Dove.
Yeah.
Fearless and Destined books from the Dove, and Mount Ashland swag. You got assorted swag in here, and then chocolate truffles from Harry and David. And so this is a $450 gift basket, and it's going to be given away this week. We'll draw on Thursday.
Tomorrow and announce Friday.
Right, and on Friday we'll announce it. So you can still get over to the Rogue Valley Ski Shop. And so we're really grateful for Mount Ashland.
But this is a partnership all the way around.
All the way around. And in fact, even with us, because they send us skiing. They give us passes to go up and go skiing, and they know that I'm to just talk my mouth off about it.
Yeah.
But so we are very grateful for that. And we're a locally owned, imagine, ski hill that's owned by
the people.
The people. It's the People's Hill.
Absolutely beautiful.
Yeah.
So we have a great partnership, Mount Ashland, Rogue Valley Ski Shop. You got Harry and Dave has always been very benevolent.
Yes.
And Organic Elements has always been good, but this concealed permit thing kind of interesting.
I've never seen such an interesting gift basket.
Okay, well there you go.
This is awesome.
Okay.
So thank you very much to
run over there and
Mount
get your name in the hat.
Yes.
For those of you in the immediate Southern Oregon area, so gosh, we do a lot of things here, but that's a new one.
Yeah.
Coming up, Renard Jackson's going to be with us. It's always fun to have him around. We'll be talking about Treasury Secretary Scott Benson's leadership on economic policies, and in particular, is he looking to help black entrepreneurs to get a start? This is very interesting. Ken and Abramowitz will be back with us. He's the author of called Multi-Front War. And we'll be talking to him, the agreement between Israel and Lebanon. and other border negotiations. Boy, things are really happening around the world and on the border. All right, take with you Revelation 21, verse 7. This is a great scripture for you on this Wednesday. She who overcomes shall inherit all things. I will be their God, and they shall be my children. Take that with you today. Revelation 21:17. Be an overcomer. Yeah, and be a hard thing. And get some fresh water.
Yeah, pure water.
The Lennox iComfort S30 thermostat can sense changes in your environment. It even knows when you come and go. So now your home's most important system is also the smartest.
Metal Masters can give you the smartest home comfort system available. It knows when you're away and adjusts when allergens and humidity get uncomfortable. Trust Metal Masters to provide perfect air for your family.
Lennox. Air is life. Make it perfect.
Co-op, where big ideas grow.
At Sweet Tea Express, we've got you covered. Order at the counter and our friendly service staff will do the rest. Burgers, salads, sandwiches, barbecue platters, sides, and more. Smoked, grilled, and served to perfection. Sweet Tea Express, breakfast, burgers, and barbecue.
Romans 1:20 tells us God's power is revealed in creation. Yet 2 Corinthians 4:4 reminds us that Satan has blinded many to the gospel. At the Life Outdoors, we've seen the truth of God, His eternal power and divine nature displayed in every mountain and stream. Follow along and let's wake the wild within. The mountains don't lie. Where there's truth, there's Jesus.
A ministry moment on the Dove.
Ecclesiastes 3:11 says this: God has planted eternity in the human heart. But even so, people cannot see the whole scope of God's work from beginning to end. Now, I want you to notice that verse. Notice it says, God has planted eternity in the human heart. What does that mean? It means that no matter where you are in the world, no matter what religion somebody has, human beings have a God-given, built-in instinct to realize there's got to be more to life than just here and now. Eternity was put in our hearts. We got to think, there's got to be more to this. There's got to be more to life after death. Why does every religion believe there's life after death? Because God wired us that way. You were made for more than just the here and now.
A ministry moment on the Dove.
You're watching the Dove TV, encouraging and informative for San Rafael and the North Bay. Seen on KQSL 17 and these Dove TV affiliates.
Well, good morning. Welcome to Mornings on the Dove. And that's Jerry. That's all you need to know.
Good morning.
Because I'm here to control him.
Thank you. Good luck with that.
It's not working. And actually, I'm here to give Pam 3 hours
I was
relief.
going to say, Pam said, tag, you're it.
Yeah. Hey, very good to see you, Larry.
Oh, man.
That's the whole family's here today.
Oh, my goodness.
All right, good morning to you. A lot going on in the news. We'll get that for you. The weather is changing. We have that for you. And, boy, just an amazing day in so many ways and so many things going on. But today is
National Working Moms Day.
Another reason for Mother's Day.
It really is, because all moms are working, right?
Sure, yeah.
And some moms actually work outside the house as well. That's a bigger challenge. And it seems to be much more common these days than it was maybe when we were little. But I remember when my mom went to work, she became an entrepreneur. and she was really good at it. And in fact, I even worked for her a little bit. I cleaned. My mom owned a couple beauty shops, and I was her official floor cleaner.
Oh,
While
really?
I was in school, I once a week I went in and
Swept up all the air?
No, much more than that. You sweep up that. Usually it's all swept up. You got to get that much hairspray off of linoleum floors.
Ooh.
So you're in there and you're scrubbing that, and then you got to make it shine afterwards.
Wow.
I could strip the hairspray off of a floor and then make it shine like you have never seen before. In fact, Pam wants me to do it more.
Okay, let me talk for a minute while you find your mic. It just fell out down your
Did
coat.
it?
Yeah.
Oh.
Anyway,
How did that happen?
So if you didn't hear any of that, don't worry. I tell you, you talk. Actually, we should name this Loose TV.
Loose, yeah, this is.
All right. Anyway, good morning. Well, my mom, 5 kids. She didn't work, at least outside the home.
Right.
She worked at home, and so it's amazing that my mother survived. My mother was about the size of that pencil.
Oh, no kidding. All right.
And she had 5 children.
Oh my goodness.
And we ran her pretty ragged.
Did you?
Yeah.
All right. Well,
what else going on?
On top of that, National Registered Dietitian Nutritionist Day.
That's a mom.
It's a mom, absolutely. And these days we're becoming a little bit more aware of such things, aren't we? We just listened to a Charlie Kirk piece. We'll be playing something like that coming up, and as well as RFK Jr. The emphasis these days is not only on medications and such. It's what we're doing to ourselves, what we're eating, and how active are you? And so a lot of these come into play, but National Registered Dietitian Nutritionist Day, if you are one, our hats off to you. And finally, National Plant a Flower Day. Spring's right around the corner. Put something in the ground. And National Baked Scallops Day. Now, there are 2 fleshy parts of the scallop that are usually sold at the market for human consumption. The adductor muscle is the white medallion of meat, which is rich and sweet. This is the piece that is the most familiar as the scallop that we see on a menu. Now, here's a part you may not want. It is the coral or the roe, which can range in color from pale coral to bright orange. This crescent-shaped piece is usually discarded before the scallop is sold at market because it may contain toxins. So throw that part away, eat the other part, and enjoy however you like it. There are a lot of ways to bake scallops.
There really are. A scallop by itself isn't very tasty.
Yeah.
It doesn't have much flavor to it. But when you bake it and do all these other things to it, ooh.
Why is it when you bake or cook something in butter with garlic, everything turns good?
Well, it's like adding bacon.
Right, yeah. I could eat my shoe with that stuff on it.
Oh, yeah.
So, anyway,
that's good, Steve.
Enjoy.
Okay. Well, here's a guy who puts bacon on a cereal.
As another in a series of low-pressure systems takes aim at the Pacific Northwest, today in northern Oregon and southern Washington, rain mainly before 11 a.m., then showers with daytime high temperatures in the low 50s for Vancouver, Portland, Wilsonville, and McMinnville. Continuing down the Willamette Valley with rain this morning, then showers likely with daytime highs in the low 50s from Salem through Albany, Corvallis, and Eugene with a light south wind. In central Oregon, rain mainly after 11 a.m. with a high near 55 in Prineville and near 50 in Bend. A chance of rain and snow in Sun River with a high near 45. Over in Boise, Idaho, a chance of rain with highs in the upper 50s. Rain and gusty winds along the Oregon coast with daytime high temperatures near 47 in Brookings and low 50s for Coos Bay, Port Orford, and Crescent City, California, with a south wind gusting up to 39 miles per hour. In southern Oregon, rain for the Rogue Valley with snow levels coming down to around 3,900 feet and daytime highs in the low 50s for Grants Pass and Medford and near 48 in Ashland. In the Klamath Basin, rain and snow in low 40s. Into northern California, rain and wind advisories in near 45 in Wairika. Showers and wind advisories for Redding, Chico, and Sacramento with highs in the mid-50s and winds gusting up to 34 miles per hour. Rainy and breezy across the Bay Area with daytime high temperatures in the mid-50s for Santa Rosa and Napa, near 58 in San Francisco and 59 in San Jose, with a southeast wind 17 to 22 miles per hour, gusting up to 34 miles per hour. It's a snapshot of your Wednesday weather on the Dove.
Okay, well, a little more sunlight on the hill, and you can see the lift, you can see the snow flying, and today is a day off. So you get some fresh snow, and they'll be grooming it probably tomorrow, so you can have a good time.
Looking at the Windsor chair here, and some snow coming down, and I think that will increase before the day is over. Well, we know there is a big difference between knowing about God and knowing God. And here we have M. Graham Lotz describing having a relationship, a friendship with God himself.
Abraham left everything behind, and he followed God one step at a time, one day at a time, choice by choice by choice, for all of his life, in a life of obedient faith. He made many mistakes. He failed, he lied, he committed adultery, so he wasn't perfect, but he never quit. He just pursued a relationship with God, and at the end of his life, when I finished that biography, I was reading it, and I thought, you know, Abraham, at the end of your life, God promised you this land, but you had to buy a cave in which to bury your wife. You don't have any land. And he promised you descendants like the stars of the sky, and basically you just have one son. And Abraham, have you just made a fool of yourself? Have you just wasted your life? You have all these unfulfilled promises of God. And then it occurred to me what Abraham had at the end of his life was a relationship with God that God 3 times in the Bible said was a friendship. And, you know, if I told you the Queen of England was my friend, you could laugh. But if she walked in here and said, Ann Lotz is my friend, that's impressive. And Abraham didn't say, God is my friend. God said, Abraham is my friend. So 34 years ago, when I finished the biography of Abraham, I decided that's what I wanted. My life's goal is to know God better today than I did yesterday, better tomorrow than I do today. I'm obsessed not with politics or ethics, although I find them very interesting. I'm obsessed with knowing God. And I believe God has invited me to know him not in religion, a denomination, an organization, an institution. He has invited me to know him in a personal, permanent love relationship. You talk about being amazed, and you talk about being wondering at something so magnificent.
Gosh.
Well said.
She's just amazing.
Yeah.
You know, I've seen her when we were at the UCB board meetings in England. She was a part of this apologetics group at a Bible college in London, and we were airing the debate. And boy, can she hold her own with these professors. And boy, just beautiful, just beautiful. All right, good morning to you. Let's take a look at some of the top stories for this Wednesday morning. And late last night, the House, the U.S. House of Representatives, finally passed a continuing resolution to fund the government through the rest of this fiscal year. The vote ended up being 217 to 213. One Republican said no, one Democrat said yes, and so it moves over to the Senate. It is a simple resolution, a whole lot less than pages that we've seen in the past, and it does continue to fund the government, a lot of it at its current levels. It just doesn't increase. So it's the beginning. It's the beginning of really putting a cap on unnecessary spending. So here's Speaker Johnson explaining it.
This was a clean CR. It freezes funding. It's a responsible thing to do. And we're ensuring that troops continue to get their paychecks and TSA agents continue to do their work and be paid. And essential workers on the border and elsewhere are doing their jobs. It's shameful what happened on the Democrat side. They engaged in a misinformation campaign. They put out talking points about the bill on Friday before the bill was even filed, which was Saturday afternoon. They've been lying and misrepresenting the facts about what's in the bill, and the American people can read it for themselves. It's only 99 pages long. We did our job today, and it's shameful that they will stop at nothing. They will suggest that this bill is something that it's not, and they will run out the clock to shut down the government in a desperate attempt to stop the America First agenda. But I will tell you that President Trump and Republicans in Congress will stop at nothing to deliver on that agenda. We are going to continue to work hard. We will continue to stick together and get this job done, and it's an essential one.
Well, there you go. Remember the pages? It used to be thousands of pages?
Oh, yeah.
Hundreds of pages.
And we have to pass it so we can find out what's in it. But let me ask you this. CR, we keep hearing this CR over and over again, continuing resolution, which is a temporary funding measure by which Congress funds the federal government to avoid a shutdown. Why are we running the government on CRs?
Because it became a pattern, and it needs to stop, because CRs gave the liberals more opportunity to raise expenses instead of dealing with the budget. Now, President Trump had mentioned the other day the possibility of a balanced budget. The last time we saw one was during the Clinton administration.
Amazingly, yeah.
We have to balance the budget. You got to stop this nonsense. And this is the first thing to do, is to get a budget where you're not increasing spending, you're maintaining, and then you go to work on continuing to cut the expenses. So it's a good deal. It's got to go to the Senate. It's going to have some problems in the Senate, but I think eventually it gets through, because the Democrats in the Senate cannot go home, especially in a purple state, and shut the government down. So we'll see where this goes. But it's going to be a little touchy over on the Senate side. All right, the other story that popped up is Ukraine now has accepted a ceasefire agreement. Now, we've gone from it's time to end the war to looks like they're going to come up with a way to end the war. The only way you can do this is through negotiations. You got to talk. So creating a ceasefire is not a peace settlement. It's not the end of the war. It's a ceasefire. The question is, will Putin come to the table? It's yet to be seen. But Ukraine and Zelensky basically has apologized to the president for the conduct 2 weeks ago in the Oval Office. They went ahead and they're making the mineral deal, and they're waiting to go into a ceasefire.
I don't want to interrupt you. I have a question. Okay, so we saw the blow up in the Oval Office.
Right.
We saw the dust settle, and it was really kind of messy. But we saw Zelensky go over to Europe, and his bros over in Europe, they said, we will put together a peace deal. What happened?
Well, see, I think that's a great question. It didn't happen.
It didn't happen, right.
So the bottom line is they go over to Saudi Arabia and they sit down with the Crown Prince, and he's kind of being the host gentleman, so to speak, of bringing the parties together, which is a good thing. And the first thing that comes out of this is that Zelensky is willing for a ceasefire. President Trump gets the mineral deal.
Right. And another inconvenient fact emerged through all of that as well, and that was that the European Union has spent more money during this conflict on Russian oil than they have in supporting Ukraine.
There you go.
What hypocrisy.
The other thing is, this ceasefire did release back to Ukraine America's support temporarily. So, in the meantime, Secretary of State Marco Rubio and National Security Advisor Mike Waltz is there, and here's what National Security Advisor Mike Waltz had to say.
The Ukrainian delegation today made something very clear, that they share President Trump's vision for peace. They share his determination to end the fighting, to end the killing, to end the tragic kind of meat grinder of people and national treasure that's happening on the front in Ukraine. They made concrete steps and concrete proposals, not only accepting our proposal for a full ceasefire, which you can see the details of which are in our joint statement that we released together. But we also got into substantive details on how this war is going to permanently end, what type of guarantees they're going to have for their long-term security and prosperity, but also really looking at what it's going to take to finally end this, the horrific fighting.
Okay, so we'll see where it goes, but at least the movement is there, and now we'll see if Putin is going to come to the table for a ceasefire, which opens the door for negotiations.
What do you expect?
I expect him to do it, and only because I don't think geopolitically he can be seen to say no.
Yes. Yeah.
But you never know. If he says no, then you know who he really is and what's ahead. It could get a little tough for both sides, so we'll see how this goes. In the meantime, as you know, the president's been in this tariff tug-of-war with Canada, and of course it's produced some shaky market days here in the United States. Through the initial changing of these tariffs in exchange, the Ontario Premier Doug Ford said, well, if you do that, we're going to cut your electricity off. I shouldn't laugh because that's pretty serious. But the president said, oh, yeah? Well, then we're just going to put your steel and aluminum on 50% tariff. Well, then all of a sudden Ford calls back and say, well let's cool things down. Maybe we could talk. And here's Ford talking about that.
With any negotiation that we have, there's a point that both parties are heated and the temperature needs to come down. And I thought this was the right decision. They understand how serious we are about the electricity and the tariffs. And rather than going back and forth and having threats to each other, we have both agreed, let cooler heads prevail. We need to sit down and move this forward. This is a massive, massive deal. The USMCA, which the federal government will be leading the charge. I'll be sitting down with all our premiers tomorrow as well and discussing this and their issues as well. So we're going to go down there and we're going to go down there with confidence. We're going to go down there with strength. And again, hopefully we can move this forward.
It sounds like they're going to go down there with cooler heads.
Yeah, I mean, you know, look, everybody's coming to the negotiating table. At the end of the day, that's the goal.
Yeah.
And I think you have to understand, which I think we're all learning fast here, the inequities in tariffs. And I think the president's overall goal, whatever you charge, we should be able to charge.
Yeah.
Okay. And you know, there should be a goal here. I had Professor Murray Sabrin on yesterday. We were talking about this, and he said, you know what the goal ought to be for tariffs? No tariffs.
Yeah, right.
In fact, President Trump could lead the other way and say, we're not going to charge tariffs on anything if you don't.
Yeah.
You know, and if you could get to zero tariffs, both economies skyrocket.
Yep.
So it makes total sense to me.
Yeah.
But hey, we're just here in little old Medford, Oregon.
Just observing.
Drinking some ultra pure water.
Oh, it's good too.
Clearing our brain and losing some pounds. We'll be right back.
Spring is around the corner and summer is on its way. With fire danger biting at its heels, flammable blackberries and underbrush will grow like gangbusters and sprout fire danger in no time. A wise property owner knows the best time to take care of fire danger is to extinguish it before it gets started. GMV Forestry, LLC can help you protect your property with adequate fire brush clearing to fireproof a zone around your precious property. With over 35 years experience, GMV Forestry LLC has the knowledge, experience, and all the equipment you need to get the job done right, offering a wide variety of services like mulching, field mowing, snow removal, driveway clearing, ditch cleaning, gravel delivery and spreading, driveway sweeping, logging, and more. GMV Forestry LLC does it all, and they do it right. GMV Forestry LLC, the team you can trust. 541-660-6445. 541-660-6445.
Buying or selling a home can be stressful. It's one of the biggest decisions you'll make in your lifetime. That's why it's important to work with someone you trust, someone who has the right experience and knowledge of the market.
Hi, we're Patrick and Paulina Leiser with Leiser Real Estate Group.
And whether you're looking to buy or sell a home, our mission is to take the stress out of the transaction and make it as seamless and rewarding as possible.
Contact us today. We look forward to working with you.
Our goal at theDove is to glorify God and help our audience connect more closely with Him. Something else we do here at theDove is help connect our audience with reliable businesses and vice versa. Some call it advertising. Here at theDove, we call it outreach. Connecting businesses with people they can help and our audience with reliable businesses for the help they need. If you'd like to reach out to our audience with your business or service, give us a call, 541-776-5368.
Okay, welcome back. Happy Wednesday to you. Well, this story is so interesting. Education being what it is. In all the things that are going on last night or yesterday, at the end of the day, people at the Department of Education in Washington, D.C. were getting notifications of termination. And in part of that notification, they could negotiate a buyout like the president and the team has offered other people in other agencies.
Right.
But basically, they're going to reduce the workforce there inside the Department of Education. Could be as high as 40+%. That was in the first round. I think at the end of the day, under this administration, we'll probably see the Department of Education go away. Why? right at the very beginning of the president's administration, he noted that America is number 40 out of 40 countries in dollars spent and results. We're the worst. So let's go to Oregon. And excuse me, sorry about that, in our own backyard. Oregon is 45th in overall. We're 51st in what they call educational freedom. I'm not sure what that term totally means, but I think I do. 47th in educational choice, and we're one of the lowest states in the union for reading and math. So if the United States is the lowest in the world, and Oregon's one of the lowest in the United States.
And we spend the most.
And we spend the most.
Yeah.
What does that tell you?
It tells you we're failing miserably.
So there's some real problems here, and I'm pro-education, don't get me wrong, but we need to look at this really seriously. Well, it looks like our governor wants to look at this, but her approach is kind of interesting. She's admitting that our test scores are not good, but the answer is, here's what she had to say.
Our K-12 schools need more resources to give students the best shot to succeed, and they need to be held accountable for student performance. I've already proposed a record $11.3 billion state school fund investment and have a bill in the session to more predictably calculate school funding needs going forward. But I don't believe in writing a blank check, and I don't believe in accepting the status quo when it comes to delivering for our students. Oregon students deserve more. That's why I have a bill this session, with the collaboration of our legislative leaders, that makes sure our K-12 investment is actually moving the needle for student outcomes. And I want to thank Speaker Fahey and President Wagner and a lot of legislators who have been tremendous partners in developing the legislation. We're going to give education leaders and Oregon families better visibility into how our students are doing. We're going to make sure that school districts are regularly checking in on outcomes so they have real-time information on what works and what doesn't so they can adjust when needed in the best interest of their students. And when things aren't getting better, I believe it's on us to lean in, get involved, and work with the school districts to get them on the right track.
This is a code for we need more money so that I can advance my agenda.
Boom.
And the agenda is, why aren't we just looking at the basic 3 R's?
Yeah, because the agenda is woke.
It is, and that sounds very disrespectful, but it is the truth.
It is,
and I think we need to look at this seriously. There's a couple things we can do here. We need a state referendum that allows for school choice and let the tax dollars follow your student. I'm telling you that will solve public education in 6 weeks. But we can't seem to get that. Why? Because we're number 47 in educational choice in the United States. That is the solution. States that have allowed for school choice are doing very, very well.
Yes, they are.
So, but this is a nice little ploy that we're going to ask for more money so that students can do this, and we're going to do more testing. Well, why haven't you done it till now?
Right.
You haven't done it until you got caught. So I'm beginning to think now, do we actually need a state Department of Education? In other words, you may have a state requirement as far as curriculum is concerned, which would be basic, math, reading, science, and those things. But let the school districts handle it. And get rid of all this money that's going to the top and bring it down to the classroom where it really needs to happen. And get rid of this teachers union.
Oh, gosh, And, parents' involvement is vital.
It is.
Parents got to be involved in their kids' education. They have to be aware of what's happening.
The only thing I can say, parents, now that we see a turn in your children's health, now you can see it's an opportunity in your children's education.
Absolutely.
This last story is a little bit of a brain squeeze. Gavin Newsom, the governor of California, formerly the mayor of San Francisco, he's really done some dumb things. He's trying to recover now by doing this podcast. Even that's starting to blow up in his face. But there's a book out called Fool's Gold, talking about people who basically have killed California, the California dream, and want to take it to the nation. California's been a test state for what the liberals want to do to the United States. Well, in the middle of all this, Gavin Newsom yesterday got caught. I don't know if this is caught, but certainly embarrassed. That there is a bust of him inside City Hall at San Francisco that he paid for. $97,000. Now, there is he must be driving a convertible because he can't get his head in anything else.
Excuse me, that was good.
I mean, come on, give me a break. Really? You're going to pay for your own bus and then make sure that it's properly placed inside City Hall in San Francisco? All you have to do is walk out that City Hall door and ask yourself, how'd it work for you, Mr. Mayor?
He's got that. It's an interesting pose, too. It's kind of got that Lenin-Stalin look to it. You know, his chin is up and he's looking at the horizon.
I don't know.
I don't
So when they uncovered it, they found out one person, somebody gave him a $5,000 donation, and some other personal foundation gave him 10, but the rest of the money he paid for himself and had it done.
I'm going to spend $10 on some Play-Doh and have somebody make a bust of me and put it out here.
I still think we ought to put it just a set of skis on the wall and put your name up there.
Okay.
That's enough.
That's good enough.
All right. Well, you can't make this stuff up.
Oh, gosh.
All right, let's take a look at Wall Street for a Wednesday morning. Thank you, Preston, at Smart Lawn. That's great. Mine, his wife has the Twin Peaks ice cream parlor. All right, look at the numbers, folks. It's only down 99 points. Look at the NAS. Went back up 228. And the S&P, which is kind of the driving force, is up 27. So it looks like all of this tit for tat is starting to settle down for a little bit, and the president ends up pulling them back. Gold's back up to 29.21. Silver's hanging in there at $33.50, and crude oil pushing $70. So that's up a little bit. So there we are.
Well, we're looking at all the controversy that Elon Musk and Doge is stirring up, and you know, we really have to be realistic about the expectations from Doge versus bringing down the national debt. And Committee for a Responsible Federal Budget President Maya McGuinness joined Maria Bartiromo and talked about exactly that.
Yeah, absolutely. His goal is very important to balance the budget. It's going to take a while to get there because we are so deep in the fiscal hole. Another important goal, I think, is the one that Secretary Bessent has put out, which is to get the deficit at least down to 3% of GDP. But balancing the budget itself is going to take about $17 trillion in savings. That's an astronomically large number, much larger than we're going to see from Doge or anything else. Getting to the 3% goal is about half that, maybe $7.5 trillion in savings. Still aggressive, but we could get there. But to the main point, and one that you just made so well, you cannot get there through saving millions from contracts in Doge. I think Doge has an incredible potential to make the government more efficient, root out waste and fraud. But the biggest growth in our federal government comes from retirement, healthcare, and interest payments, the single fastest growing part of the budget. We cannot pretend that we don't have to look at the big areas of the budget, the healthcare delivery system, defense procurement system. There's so much to be looking at there for savings. I hope both Doge and our lawmakers will focus their attention on where the real trillions in dollars of savings are to start moving to that goal.
Well, look, Doge, even though it's under huge, criticism for just, looking at things, they have found enough money on going out on an annual basis that if they just stop paying the fraud that they have currently found, we could balance the budget in 3 years.
Wow.
Eliminate the debt in 3 years. Okay, so I don't know. I mean, one of them's like $1 trillion with all the problems with Social Security and Medicare. You can come back to these other departments. Look at Aid USA, the billions of dollars of nonsense stuff.
Yeah.
And some of the stuff is so bad, folks, you can't. I would be embarrassed, and I wouldn't even consider reading it on the air. That's how bad it is.
Right.
And so the point being is, all you got to do is stop the nonsense, and you now have cash coming back into the Treasury you didn't have before. So we are on the road. Now, you got to take the cost of government and bring it down, and that's what last night's budget was all about. There isn't a person running a business or a household that sooner or later you cannot live on your credit card. It will get you. You're going down. And so that's what we're doing. We have to get rid of it. Now, tongue-in-cheek, I just think we ought to settle the debt and give China, California, and call it even.
Yeah.
But we'd have to cut it off and let it float over there. We wouldn't want it this close to our shoreline.
Oh, gosh. Wait a minute. I have friends and family there.
Oh, well, get them out of there first. I don't know. You have to get them out of there. Maybe we ought to just send them the bust of Gavin Newsom.
Oh, there you go.
Remember when Obama came in, President Obama came into the White House, the first thing you got rid of was Churchill's bust.
You got rid of him, right.
You got rid of Churchill's bust. I wonder if the new mayor coming into San Francisco someday, if it's a Republican, would remove Gavin Newsom's bust.
Didn't you find it ironic that Joe Biden put a bust of RFK in the Oval Office?
Yeah.
RFK.
Yeah.
Junior's dad.
Yeah.
And then they drove RFK Jr. out of the party.
I know.
It was it was just bizarre.
Have you seen a big picture of the Oval Office lately? It's full of pictures, and one of the biggest ones in there is Reagan.
Oh, no kidding.
President Reagan.
All right.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. All right.
All right. We're running a little
Where
late.
are
Go
we?
ahead. What do you got there?
Where are we? We did it already.
No. Did we do the budget thing?
Yeah, we
Maria?
did. Yeah.
Oh, that's right. We just did it. Yeah. We'll be right back.
The Son of God, I trust in Jesus, blessed Redeemer.
Your yard is where life happens, but it can be muddy and hard to maintain. Enjoy a maintenance-free artificial turf lawn all year round with Smart Lawn LLC. No mowing, no fertilizing, no watering. Our synthetic grass is beautiful and resilient. It's certified to be lead-free, and there's no need for pesticides. Safe for your children and pets. Smart Lawn LLC has all your artificial turf and putting green areas covered beautifully. 541-941-3538.
In the heart of the Rogue Valley, RVTD connects us all, not just through miles traveled, but also through time. With renewable technologies and more convenient ways to get around, RVTD's building a future that keeps our region connected. Public transportation isn't just about getting from here to there. It's about the journey, past, present, and future. Rogue Valley Transportation District, celebrating 50 years of moving our community forward.
Our goal at theDove is to glorify God and help our audience connect more closely with Him. Something else we do here at theDove is help connect our audience with reliable businesses and vice versa. Some call it advertising. Here at theDove, we call it outreach. Connecting businesses with people they can help and our audience with reliable businesses for the help they need. If you'd like to reach out to our audience with your business or service, give us a call, 541-776-5368.
Romans 1:20 tells us God's power is revealed in creation. Yet 2 Corinthians 4:4 reminds us that Satan has blinded many to the gospel. At the Life Outdoors, we've seen the truth of God, His eternal power and divine nature displayed in every mountain and stream. Follow along and let's wake the wild within. The mountains don't lie. Where there's truth, there's Jesus.
Hi, good morning to you. Happy Wednesday and a change in the weather. He's dancing over here. He's seeing snow at the top of the hill, fresh snow. You know, fresh snow on top of a big pack.
Yes.
I mean, that is spring skiing at its best.
Ain't nothing wrong with that. Yep.
Okay. Well, listen, there's a lot going on in the world we haven't talked about yet, so let's check in with CBN Newswatch and get caught up.
This is CBN Newswatch.
It's a busy Wednesday. Let's begin in the Middle East, where Israel is warning the new Islamic leadership in Syria to stay away from its borders, as the mass killings seem to have subsided. But Israel says the world should condemn these massacres. CBN Middle East correspondent Julie Stahl brings us the story. She reports from Jerusalem.
Days of mass killings in Syria, led by the new government, left at least more than 1,000 Alawites and Christian minority members dead and thousands of others fleeing.
The suffering is very high. It is a complete extermination of the Alawite sect, of our brothers, the Christians, of our brothers, the Shiite.
Some survivors told us that many men were shot dead in front of their families.
Syria's military says the killing is over for now and calm seems to have returned.
Thank God, today life has returned and people have gone back to their homes. Everything is, thank God, perfectly fine.
Syria's new leader, Ahmed al-Shara, has called for a commission of inquiry and insists the massacres of mostly civilians were not acts of ethnic cleansing, but the crushing of rebel forces attacking the new government. While much of the world's media ignored these mass killings, Israel blasted the radical Islamists now in charge of Syria.
The international community must come to its sense about the regime in Damascus. It's actually about jihad. This is a massacre the whole world should condemn. This is what an ethnic cleansing really looked like.
Israeli forces struck dozens of Syrian military targets Monday night that could prove a threat to the Jewish state. IDF Chief of Staff Eyal Zamir toured the new buffer zone his troops have set up on Mount Hermon and Syrian territory around it. Israel warned Syria's new Islamist government to keep its forces away from Israel.
We are concerned about those jihadist monsters committing a massacre and ethnic cleansing of Jews and Druze within our borders. We will not allow the formation of jihadist threat on our borders with Syria.
But in a sign it's trying to at least appear more moderate, Syria's radical Islamist government signed a deal this week with leaders of the huge Syrian Kurds minority, which had been repressed by the former Assad regime.
The agreement marks a significant step towards unifying Syria, putting an end to the country's 14 years of fracture.
Kurds and their allies are celebrating.
All the people are happy, and they're all one hand. Kurds, Christians, Assyrians, and all other sects. We are all brothers in one country.
Meanwhile, in Qatar, President Trump's Middle East envoy Steve Witkoff is pushing to extend the ceasefire in Gaza another 60 days, with Hamas immediately releasing 10 of the more than 20 hostages who remain alive. But Hamas is pushing back, still insisting on negotiations to end the war permanently, with the terror group apparently still armed and in charge of Gaza. Witkoff and Israel both insist Hamas has to give up its civilian and military power there for the war to end. Julie Stahl, CBN News, Jerusalem.
And our CBN Middle East Bureau Chief Chris Mitchell joins us now from Jerusalem. So, Chris, what more have we learned about the massacre in Syria, and what do we know about what really happened?
Well, we know we're still getting some horrific scenes of slaughter of the Alawites and some Christians as well. Some people estimate more than 10,000 have actually been slaughtered in the last week or so. Videos encouraging killing on sight of any of these Alawite families or members. The Alma Center, which is in northern Israel right now, has done a research on this, and Iran may have actually encouraged some of the Alawites to attack some members of the regime, and they believe this could be retribution on the Alawites for years of the Assad regime that really had put persecution on many of the Sunni members of Israel. But certainly this commission of inquiry that Julie talked about in her story, we wonder, some people speculate, could this be burying the story and just sort of putting a sort of a facade on what really happened and whether or not how much of the regime knew about what happened. It just was horrific scenes for the last week or so. Hopefully it'll be over, but just a horrific time here in the Middle East, and with really ethnic cleansing, as Deputy Foreign Minister Sharon Haskell said.
The whole thing about the Syria deal and now the killing of these Christians, folks, this is real stuff.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't know. I don't know how the world's. Where's the UN? I mean, what good is that?
Yeah.
But you got Turkey moving into Syria, taking control, and killing Christians, and leaving the corpse all over the ground. And people are driving over them and by them.
Yeah.
It's gruesome. And so that's what's happening. So be praying for
and
them.
of course, the UN continues to look at Israel.
Of course, there's a problem for everything over there. All right, good morning to you. Well, if you don't notice it by now, there's a change in the weather, and here's the guy that never changes.
As another in a series of low-pressure systems takes aim at the Pacific Northwest, today in northern Oregon and southern Washington, rain mainly before 11 a.m., then showers with daytime high temperatures in the low 50s for Vancouver, Portland, Wilsonville, and McMinnville. Continuing down the Willamette Valley with rain this morning, then showers likely with daytime highs in the low 50s from Salem through Albany, Corvallis, and Eugene with a light south wind. In central Oregon, rain mainly after 11 a.m. with a high near 55 in Prineville and near 50 in Bend. A chance of rain and snow in Sun River with a high near 45. Over in Boise, Idaho, a chance of rain with highs in the upper 50s. Rain and gusty winds along the Oregon coast with daytime high temperatures near 47 in Brookings and low 50s for Coos Bay, Port Orford, and Crescent City, California, with a south wind gusting up to 39 miles per hour. In southern Oregon, rain for the Rogue Valley with snow levels coming down to around 3,900 feet and daytime highs in the low 50s for Grants Pass and Medford and near 48 in Ashland. In the Klamath Basin, rain and snow in low 40s. Into Northern California, rain and wind advisories near 45 in Wairika. Showers and wind advisories for Redding, Chico, and Sacramento with highs in the mid-50s and winds gusting up to 34 miles per hour. Rainy and breezy across the Bay Area with daytime high temperatures in the mid-50s for Santa Rosa and Napa, near 58 in San Francisco and 59 in San Jose, with a southeast wind 17 to 22 miles per hour, gusting up to 34 miles per hour. It's a snapshot of your Wednesday weather on the Dove.
Beautiful shot of Mount Ashland. If you're watching on the Dove radio, we're looking right up the chair line there this morning.
A little wiggling in the chair. It's breezy.
Yeah, a little fresh snow, too.
But we'll get a little bit more before they reopen. Well, you know, when we hear the phrase, to boldly go where no man has gone before, we know we're about to get on to the Starship Enterprise, which came to be on this day in history. On March 11th, 1964, Gene Roddenberry sat alone in his study looking down at the 16-page pitch for the original Star Trek series. He had spent weeks refining it, crafting a vision of the future unlike anything television had seen. A spacefaring crew and a starship called the Enterprise. Although he publicly marketed it as a Western in outer space, he privately told friends that he was modeling it on Jonathan Swift's novel Gulliver's Travels, intending each episode to act on two levels, as a suspenseful adventure story and as a morality tale. But he wondered, would the network executives see what he saw? Adventure, philosophy, the infinite possibilities of the stars, or would they dismiss it as just another sci-fi show? Roddenberry presented the brief treatment for the television series to Desilu Productions, calling it a wagon train to the stars. Desilu's studio head Lucille Ball was instrumental in approving production of the series, overruling the objections of the Desilu Board of Directors. The studio worked with Roddenberry to develop the treatment into a script, which was then pitched to NBC. They picked up the series, and although it initially had high ratings, it lasted only 3 seasons. But the Star Trek franchise has lived on, becoming one of the most successful in history, with 13 movies and 12 different series, with all series in total amounting to 940 episodes across 49 television seasons. How about that?
Almost 1,000.
Yeah, amazing. That franchise lives on. I always wanted them, you know, Star Trek, to find the Robinson family. Remember the show Lost in Space? They never found them.
Never found them. Yeah.
But to boldly go where no man has gone before, and every time they got there, there was somebody there already.
Have you noticed the older you get, your ears start to look like that guy?
Leonard Nimoy, Spock. Yes, that's right.
All right.
Thanks a lot, man.
17 minutes now before the hour. All right, good morning to Alan Dershowitz, one of our buddies here, and former law professor emeritus, speaks at the arrest of the leader of the anti-Israel protest there on campus, and he draws the line between free speech and conduct.
The question is, do they have the right to remain in the United States if they violate American law? Now, the important line to draw is between pure free speech, that is standing up and holding a placard or expressing a view, and blocking access to a classroom or disrupting a classroom. And if this guy or anyone else occupied a building, violated the law in any way, he can be immediately deported, whether he has a green card or just a visa. But if he engaged in pure, protected, free speech under the First Amendment, the issues would be quite different. But the evidence seems to suggest that he went beyond free speech and was involved in illegal activities. We'll wait and see. I'd like to see these 125,000 people also sign a petition saying that you can't discriminate against Jews or Zionists, and you can't intimidate them, and you can't break into classes. So let's draw the appropriate lines. And the appropriate line is drawn at speech versus conduct. Conduct that's not protected by the First Amendment is subject to criminal prosecution. And these 125,000 people should be signing petitions on both sides. We can strike the appropriate balance. Let people protest as long as there's a single standard. you can say anything about Jews that you can also say about blacks and transgenders and gays. But no university, for example, would allow demonstrations calling for the raping of women or the lynching of blacks. And yet they do permit demonstrations in favor of lynching of Jews, as happened to 1,200 of them on October 7th, and the raping of women. So universities have to have a single standard if they want to get funding from the federal government, because they have no right to funding. That's a privilege.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Well, the judge blocked that one person from being exported, so I guess that's going to have to be
Mahmoud Khalil.
Was that his name?
That's his name.
Yeah, here on a green card, violates and gets protected by an American judge for
stopping American students from going to class.
Substance, and he's not even a student at the college. So, anyway, a lot of craziness going on there. All right, good morning to you. Well, did you have your banana today?
I didn't, but I've been eating some orange. I'm getting my vitamin C. Why? What about banana?
Well, I don't know. I just want to make sure you're healthy.
Okay.
Because health is now make America healthy again?
Yeah, and you know, the old phrase, you are what you eat.
Well, then they're going to have to put C's candy on my tombstone. I'll be right back.
With the words, "Behold, a sower went out to sow," Jesus begins the legendary Matthew 13 parable of the sower about God's word and draws attention to the need for good soil in order to bear fruit. This question of good soil motivates and challenges every Christian parent. Can good soil be nurtured in the lives of our children? A similar question was asked by the ancient Greeks concerning virtue. Drawing upon classical traditions like the trivium and the liberal arts, classical Christian schools are coming alongside Christian parents to do just that, nurture good soil and virtue. Now in our 8th year serving Jackson County, Knox Academy, the Rogue Valley's own K-12 classical Christian school, is relocating to downtown Medford in order to better assist parents as they educate their children. We are currently enrolling students for the 25-26 school year. Visit us at knoxmedford.com for more information. Invest in a future with a strong connection to the past for good soil, deep roots, and fruit at knoxmedford.com.
Hello, my name is Todd Friel, host of Wretched TV, seen right here on Dove TV. You say, wretched. Does this have something to do with cats and fur balls? No, it doesn't. Instead, it's understanding we are wretched sinners in need of an amazing Savior.
Welcome back. 12 minutes before the top of the hour. Well, are we healthy in America? And Charlie Kirk, who does a lot of on-campus rallies and talks, and so students would say, what about this and what about that? I was surprised that even the college campuses are concerned about the food quality.
Yes.
Here's a little bit of an exchange.
There is obviously a huge issue in the country with healthcare prices. What do you think is the best way to lower costs for families?
The hospitals are gouging prices significantly. We have to try to get at the root cause, which is the food that we are feeding ourselves and our kids. We have to get to the fact that we are an increasingly sedentary country. We aren't walking enough. We're not exercising enough. And healthcare costs are exploding because we don't actually address the root cause 20 or 30 years prior.
How do we take on those huge food companies?
Well, the first thing is we should have a real conversation about banning pesticides in when we're making our food. Ultra processed food. ultra-processed food should not be on the FDA-recommended food pyramid. We have a chronic disease epidemic. It's not because our kids are lazier. It's because we are actively poisoning our kids with food from big ag that we're spraying with all these pesticides, these chemicals. And if you look at the ingredient list of just a Lunchables box, we are basically giving kids the worst thing possible for their metabolism, for their endocrinology. So that I'm more interested in the healthcare conversation that tries to make sure that a 12-year-old doesn't have to get on Ozempic by the time they're 18 years old. And just so you know, they're giving pediatric Ozempic now for 12 and 13-year-olds. They are now treating obesity as a genetic disorder that you cannot do anything about, and they just want a 12-year-old to now have to take a shot every week to try to curb their obesity, which has all other sorts of very, very negative health implications. Every day, potentially, right? And so how do we solve that? Well, my personal crusade, we have to blow up the food pyramid, that we have way too many carbohydrates in our diet, not enough healthy fats, and not enough protein. Whoever made that was obviously bought by the big ag companies, and you should just say, I'm not going to have any more high fructose corn syrup, I'm not going to have any more processed sugars, and if there are ingredients I can't pronounce, I should resist it, and you'll be a lot healthier because of it. So thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Maybe you ought to do that with medicine. If you can't pronounce the medicine, you don't take it.
That's interesting.
I've often wondered whoever names medicine, all these funny. But back to his point, this is so good. This is so good.
Yeah, but he makes a good point there. And you know who said that first? If you can't pronounce it, don't eat it. Jack LaLanne. Remember Jack LaLanne, the old exercise guru? He lived a very healthy lifestyle. But it's hard to do, too. You look at some of the stuff that we eat, look at the label, look at the ingredients, and you get down there and you think, what is this? Yeah. And it's hard to find something as just a few simple ingredients.
Well, it's the trend to health is really, really good. There's two big problems in the United States. One is obesity, and the other one is cancer. And the only thing I can say is that we need to attack both of these seriously. And if you look at the increase of obesity and you look at the increase of cancer in the United States over the last 30 years, something went terribly wrong.
Right.
And no other country has the rate of it that we do. So. I'm glad they're looking at this.
And you know what? You know what another problem is? A lot of these ingredients are for our convenience, to make it easier for us.
Well, to give a shelf life of 300
and shelf life, absolutely right. Yeah. That's why, a good old home-cooked meal, it's hard to beat.
Yeah.
Hard to beat.
All right, good morning to you. Renard Jackson coming up. Always fun to have him around. We'll be talking about the Treasury Secretary's leadership in helping black entrepreneurs. We'll talk about that. The other one is Kenneth Abramowitz will be back with us, and we'll be talking about the agreements with Israel, Lebanon, now with Syria being in the mix, and all the border issues in the Middle East. So we have some good things to chat about.
Do you want to talk about the proms, or do you want to talk about Mount Ashland?
Let's talk about the proms.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Well, last week, Steve Carell, the actor, told students affected by Southern California wildfires that their prom tickets have been paid for. Check this out.
All right.
In a recorded video, actor Steve Carell dropped in on several high schools around Los Angeles to give the seniors a very special announcement. The students probably thought it was a curious prank or an AI-generated video, but they'd have been wrong. The announcement was that all the seniors' prom tickets had been paid for by a nonprofit that Carell has personally worked alongside. The nonprofit asked Carell to lend an air of stardust to their announcement video, and he was all too happy to oblige.
Attention all seniors. This is Steve Carell with a very special announcement. I work with a wonderful charity based out of Virginia called Alice's Kids. And Alice's Kids wanted me to let you know that they will be paying for all of your prom tickets. And if you have already paid for your prom tickets, they will reimburse you for your prom tickets. It's a pretty good deal. Have fun, enjoy the prom, and remember, this is Steve Carell. Take it easy, guys.
Alice's Kids is donating $175,000 to send 800 seniors to proms from 7 different Southern California high schools that were affected by the fires.
And remember, Get your date home on time.
Get your date home, that's right. And spend money on the ticket rather than ski boots. Pam responded to that story yesterday, because yesterday was, prom invitation day. She looked at me, she said, if that had been me, I would have said, you're taking me to the prom. I don't care about those ski boots. She said that, yeah.
Hold up that basket 30 seconds.
Yeah. Okay.
We're giving away this basket coming up. We're going to draw a name tomorrow and give it away on Friday. You have to go to the Rogue Ski Shop.
Yes.
And it's packed full. It's
a $450 gift basket here, including all kinds of great stuff. From Mount Ashland, ski passes, organic elements, gift certificate, Black Flag Armory towards a concealed carry. It's awesome. But I love this. Good Bean Coffee from the Dove, Fearless and Destined books from the Dove, and of course, Mount Ashland swag. We appreciate our partnership with Mount Ashland, and they send you skiing, they send us skiing. We are very, very fortunate that they are our local ski resort. So get signed up. Get into the Rogue Valley Ski Shop. Get signed up. We're going to pick it tomorrow, and we're going to announce it on Friday.
We'll announce it on Friday.
Okay. There you go.
All right.
Done deal.
Done deal.
All right.
Maybe we can make arrangements for Jerry to deliver it to you on the mountain.
Okay.
Are you going up this weekend?
Okay. And you know what? It's going to be snowing.
Yeah.
It is.
Okay.
Get your powder boards out.
Good stuff all the way. I got to dig in my...
What are you looking for?
Well, I got to go talk for a minute.
Okay, I am. Well, okay. as we're watching you're looking at a schedule. Okay.
No. What happened was that they didn't give me the scripture on this one. I had to dig the other one out. Here's the scripture for today. Revelation 21:7. He who overcomes shall inherit all things, and I will be his God, and he shall be my son. That's plural, by the way. Mm-hmm. Gender plural. Mm-hmm. Anyway, Revelation 21:7. Oh gosh, we just went from bad to worse.
Yeah, but isn't it nice we have no gender issues in the Bible?
No. No.
That's wonderful.
Wonderful. No racial issues in the Bible.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Big ideas grow.
Attention golf lovers and local supporters. Join Rogue Valley Habitat for Humanity's inaugural golf tournament Friday, April 25th at Centennial Golf Course in Medford. 4-person scramble with 9 a.m. shotgun start. $600. Get your dream team, the full VIP treatment, greens fees, carts, prizes, tournament gear, and banquet tickets. Register by March 1st for our early bird special, a free team player pack worth $100. Time to show off those skills while helping local families achieve affordable homeownership. Register at roguevalleyhabitat.org or call 541-261-3520.
Thousands of satisfied customers make Jim Clark's Consignment Country the most recommended RV consignment lot on the West Coast. Even dealers recommend us. That success comes from dealing with only the cleanest pre-owned RVs at the best prices, no high-pressured salespeople, and treating customers with respect. And we've been doing this in the same location for over 40 years. Before you buy or sell your RV, see why so many satisfied customers recommend Jim Clark's Consignment Country. Family owned and operated at 1630 Rogue River Highway in Grants Pass.
God's eternal power and divine nature are seen in creation. But in a world blinded by darkness, the life outdoors is here to pull back the veil. The mountains don't lie. Truth leads to Jesus. Wake the wild within.
theDove.us, your place online to stay encouraged and informed. Enrich and grow your faith with reliable, inspiring content. Anywhere you are, you can stream the Dove TV's faith-based programming. Listen to the Dove Radio. Ask for prayer. Get the Word for You Today devotional. Plus, download the Dove app. Go to theDove.us, a trustworthy Christian media platform that will change your life forever. Make it yours today. Apologetics on major issues so you can know your faith. Watch The John Ankerberg Show, weekdays at 4 on the Dove TV, encouraging and informative.
Welcome to Focus Today. I'm your host, Perry Atkinson. I'm always delighted when we have time to sit down with our good friend, Renard Jackson. He is the president and the CEO of Renard Jackson and Associates. He does have a website, renardjackson.com. And Renard is a kind of a frontline warrior for black entrepreneurism. And he's been a hawk in this area and trying to fight for more recognition in this area. And so I commend him for this. He himself is an entrepreneur and very experienced. And this man gets around. He is well noted throughout the ranks there in Washington, D.C. Brother Renard, good to see you, friend. How are you?
Good, Perry. How you doing, my man?
All right. Good to see you. Hey, listen, I understand you have really a fond working relationship with the new Treasury Secretary, Scott Bessent. Tell us about that.
Yeah, Scott and I met through some mutual friends, and Perry, as you mentioned in your introduction, I have been working for decades with this whole issue of bringing together conservative black entrepreneurs into the Republican Party and the conservative movement. Secretary Bessent attended a conference I did last year with 3 billionaires, and they spent a whole 12 hours basically in a room full of black entrepreneurs from across the country, Perry, and he and I just become very dear friends. And 2 weeks ago, I took 20 of the top black entrepreneurs to meet with him in his office as Treasury Secretary, Perry, and he said something that surprised not only myself, but the whole room of attendees when he said he's postponed meeting with other groups because he wanted his first meeting as Treasury Secretary to be with my group of black entrepreneurs. And so he would not meet with any other group until after this event took place 2 weeks ago. And I blew everyone away, Perry. But Secretary Bessent reminds me of our buddy Jack Kemp, the former congressman, from Buffalo, former NFL quarterback for Buffalo Bills. I affectionately call him the Jack Kemp of black entrepreneurs, meaning he had a passion and a deep space in his heart for black entrepreneurs wanting to know, what can I do to create more opportunities for this group, and what doors do they need me to open? And this is before he became Treasury Secretary, Perry. Now that he's Treasury Secretary, he has more weapons in his arsenal to help us get to the next level.
I guess one of the questions that comes out of this, maybe you can give us a little bit more about him. What qualifies him to be put right into the Treasury Secretary position?
Well, he's the hedge fund manager, Key Square Capital. He used to own. He had to give it up to become confirmed to be Treasury Secretary. But believe it or not, Perry, he used to be the top fund manager for George Soros. He's the one responsible for George Soros making all that money. And on Wall Street, he's considered a savant, a pure financial genius. So he understands the market, the financial market, and he's a very conservative, and folks find it hard to believe that he worked for George Soros, and they are politically opposites of each other. But when it comes to the financial markets, Perry, he is a true genius. And he was President Trump's and Vice President J.D. Vance's top economic advisor during the campaign. He prepped both of them for the presidential and vice presidential debates. And so he reminds me of the old TV commercial back in the 80s, Barry, when E.F. Hutton speaks, people listen. When Scott Bessent speaks, people listen on Wall Street.
Okay, so what are you expecting the road ahead to look like, Renard?
Well, I tell you, the Trump administration is open for business, especially for the small and minority business community. And as I wrote in the column that you got, Perry, because I love you so much, and you know that, you have an advanced copy because the column will not come out until tomorrow morning. You're the only person who's seen this column about my relationship with Secretary Bessent. And so with Trump's economic policy and with Secretary Bessent been a voracious cheerleader for small and minority business opportunities, Perry, he and President Trump are a match made in heaven. And so hopefully I can play a small role in this dance that they're doing to bring some of the most cutting edge Black entrepreneurs to the table and let Secretary Bessent and President Trump see that. It reminds me, Perry, remember the Cosby TV show back in the 80s? White folks couldn't imagine that there existed Black families like that. And so it is with these Black entrepreneurs, Perry, and you and I have talked about this for decades now. A lot of folks don't believe that there are Blacks who are on the cutting edge of AI, cryptocurrency, manufacturing, IT. And my job and my mandate within the Trump administration, Perry, is to expose Secretary Bessent and President Trump to these cutting-edge leading entrepreneurs who also happen to be the real leaders of the Black community, Perry.
So this is wonderful. You're finally getting the recognition that you've worked so hard to get and to bring to the table. Where do you think this will best show up?
Well, number one, it's going to show up in what most people call the underserved community, the inner cities, because guess what? The more business opportunities we create for small businesses, Perry, as you well know, guess what? They're the ones that's going to have to hire and train new people for the workforce of the 21st century. And these are the guys that legitimately, if you've had, say, problems with the law in the past, these entrepreneurs are going to be willing to give you a chance to get yourself together again. Why? Because more than likely, Perry, these entrepreneurs who are hiring all these people because President Trump and Secretary Bessent has created an economy and an environment where they're growing their businesses, more than likely that CEO of that company went to high school with that kid, mother or father who got in trouble. And so that's how you can reinstate and restore people who may have had encounters with the legal system to get them back on their feet and give them a job where they don't have to go back to the street. And so, 80% of all employment is happening by small minority businesses, not the Fortune 500 companies. So we are the economic engine that makes this economy hum.
No question about it. No question about that. So let me ask you this. There's a very unique relationship that you would have with the Secretary of Treasury. That's obviously a God thing in your life. That's wonderful.
No question.
So let me ask you this. Do you think you'll see in the immediate future more accessibility to capital for Black entrepreneurs?
Without question. And President Trump has some policies percolating through Congress. Secretary Bessent and I have talked about this issue of access to capital. And the newly installed head of the Small Business Administration, Kelly Loeffler, she comes from the private. She's an entrepreneur herself, and her husband owns the New York Stock Exchange in New York. And so between President Trump, Secretary Bessent, the administrator for the Small Business Administration, they all are entrepreneurs. They understand what we go through, and they are creating policies that's going to make it easier for us to get capital to grow our firms. Because a lot of these small businesses, Perry, they may get a $3, $4, $20 million contract. The biggest issue is getting the cash flow and the funding for them to be able to get started on the contract that they just won, because they don't get paid for 30, 45, 60 days. And so making sure these guys are able to fund and finance when they get these new contracts under the Trump administration is the key to economic growth.
This is kind of an interesting question, but let me put it this way. Are most Black entrepreneurs conservative?
Oh, without question. without question. And by the way, Perry, I know this is a gospel Christian-oriented show. Let's send out our prayers to Junior Bridgman. Your audience may not be familiar with him, but he played 12 years in the NBA, a billionaire athlete, black, played for the Milwaukee Bucks. He just died suddenly yesterday of a heart attack at a meeting in Kentucky. He lived in Louisville, went to the University of Louisville, but he was a God-fearing Christian conservative entrepreneur as well, and he's just a good guy. So look him up. He's just a beautiful guy, Perry. But yeah, conservatism is the root of the black entrepreneur, because guess what? We come from the church experience, and then the entrepreneurial bug hit us. And again, as you and I have talked for years, Perry, blacks by nature are intrinsically conservative. But again, we feel like we're not invited to be a formal part of the conservative movement. As Secretary Bessent, President Trump, Kelly Loeffler, they all understand that vein of conservatism within the black entrepreneurial community, and that's just a no-brainer and low-hanging fruit for the Trump administration.
But on the other hand, you just got invited to the table by the secretary.
Yes, I'm flattered, because it reminds me of the scripture and song, Perry, that who is man that thou art mindful of him, the son of man that thou hast visited him. The Secretary Bessent, Terry, he had a hard life growing up in Conner, South Carolina, had to get a job at 9 years old because the family had financial struggle, but was able to finagle his way into Yale University, and the rest is history. And so why he decided to reach out and form this friendship with me, Perry, that's something only God knows, and I don't even question it anymore. It is what it is. And the secretary has extended himself to me and has been very good to me as far as accessing his Rolodex, and even his Treasury secretary. He's unbelievably busy, Perry, but he makes time for me and my entrepreneurs, and there are several things that we're working on, and he just wants to see entrepreneurs, especially black entrepreneurs, reach their fullest potential. And the only thing they need, Perry, and again, we've talked about this forever on your show, is opportunity. We don't need to be catered to because we're black or we're male, we're female. Just give us fair opportunity, and we will kick butts with the best of them. And that's what the secretary understands. And so why he and I have this relationship, I have no idea. But Perry, all I know is I'm able to use that relationship to lift up others in the small business community, and hopefully they in turn will do the same within their realm of influence as well, and get America back on track economically.
This is really quite a testimony, Renard, because of all the conversations we've had about giving the opportunity, looking for the chance, getting the recognition, all of a sudden it's been catapulted to the front of the rows, so to speak. This is a big deal for what you've been working on. Do you think that this temporary adjustment in the economy, from your perspective and working with black entrepreneurs, do they see that what Trump is doing, President Trump is doing, yeah, there's a little bit of a bumpy road now, but down the road they see it pretty good?
Yeah. I mean, Perry, I cannot overstate the shape of this economy that Joe Biden left for President Trump to deal with. I mean, we have a $36 trillion debt. This CR that the House has passed last night, the Senate will pass later this week. We have a $2 trillion budget deficit this year, Perry. And Secretary Bessent and President Trump have to deal with these horrible financial numbers, get the unemployment rate even lower, get inflation under control, and things are heading in the right direction. Egg prices are going down. Oil prices are going down. And so those are key ingredients to reviving the economy. And so to have a Secretary of Treasury who's willing to not only speak to Wall Street, Perry, but he's willing to speak directly to the small and the minority business community and go into, say, the Black business community, engage with them to inspire them to, hey, there's a new sheriff in town. Help is on the way. We just need you guys to hang in there, and help is on the way.
All right, let me take a quick break. Check out RenardJackson.com. That's his website, RenardJackson.com. There's a picture of the landing page. We'll take a quick break. We'll be right back.
What if your next ride was more than just a ride?
What if it was an epic adventure filled with unforgettable memories?
At Panoramic Moto Tours, we take you beyond the ordinary, offering curated routes, privately guided with all the details handled.
Our passion is to share the joy of riding incredible roads, exploring new sights and towns, and connecting with others and sharing our stories.
Sound good to you?
What are you waiting for? Let's create your custom tour, or join us on one of our upcoming tours.
The Lost Coast and Trinity Alps, May 16th through the 19th, or the Oregon Coast and Cascades Tour, June 22nd through the 26th. Just click the Tours tab at panoramicmototours.com or call 541-622-3844.
panoramicmototours.com. Your next adventure starts here.
Disasters happen, and Oregon faces a range of disaster threats, including earthquakes, floods, and storms. You can prepare now by taking 3 important steps. Create a home inventory, make copies of important financial records, and contact your insurance company to make sure you have the right amounts and types of home insurance coverage. Be disaster ready by being insurance ready. Visit dfr.oregon.gov/prepare now to learn how.
Okay, welcome back. Renard Jackson's back with us. He's the president and CEO of the Renard Jackson & Associates. He also has a website, renardjackson.com. There's a picture of the landing page. He's been an amazing advocate for the black entrepreneur. And recently, with the change in administration, a big answer to his prayers. He's now working with the current administration to do just that and to get more black entrepreneurs to be recognized, to the table, to be capitalized, and to get the contracts. All good stuff all the way around. Renard, backing up a little bit, back to the election of President Trump, it looked like he even picked up several more percent of black voters. I think it was 3 more percent or 4 more percent. Maybe you have that number, which is significant. Do you have any idea why?
Yes. In 2016, President Trump received 8% of the black vote. 20% in 12% in 2020 and 16% in 2024. And the reason is very simple. Number one, as we stated, Perry, and before the break, blacks are inherently conservative. The Democrats have lost their mind promoting all this radical transgender ideology, raising taxes, making it more difficult for entrepreneurs by increasing business costs through government regulation, illegal immigration, and wanting to give them amnesty and paying all this money, billions and billions of dollars for housing and feeding illegals at the expense of American citizens. All those things. And then, Perry, just the sheer strength and force of President Trump's personality. He went to places most Republicans wouldn't go, not only in the black community, but in the Hispanic community. He talked to union leaders. He talked to women who were not big fans of the president historically. And so it reminds me of my days at Oral Roberts University, Perry, where Oral would always tell me, go into every man's world and meet them at the point of their need. And that's exactly what President Trump did to get that 16% of the black vote.
That's amazing. So how do you plan with your leadership and now really some fresh wind in your sails by having the secretary with you? How do you plan to break through, if I can use the term, the invisible door into the RNC?
Well, number one, they got new, innovative, outside-the-box thinking leadership. And again, that comes from the President Trump tree. Michael Watley, who I don't know, but people are setting up a meet for he and I think he gets it. And again, this is all a result of President Trump sending the signal out, because change starts from the top. President Trump has brought a coalition together of blacks, Hispanic, Indian, Asian, women, male, female, that we've never seen before. And what's amazing is, during the commercial break, Perry, I was reflecting on our years and years of conversations on your show, and I was reminded of Jeremiah 33:3. Call unto me, and I will answer thee and shew you great and mighty things that thou knowest not. Perry, you and I have talked about my frustration with this party, especially when it comes to black entrepreneurs. Who would have thought that a black kid from St. Louis City, the inner city hood of St. Louis, would ever befriend a Treasury Secretary from Conway, South Carolina, the rural South? I'm from the Midwest. He's wealthy, I'm successful, and yet our lives seem to have been brought together. It's not a tribute to me or him, Perry. I think you rightfully said at the top of this interview that this was the hand of God. But just imagine, Perry, the years you and I have been talking about this, and now God said, call unto me. And I've been calling through your show and others, Perry, and I will answer thee. Not only did he answer me, Perry, but he said, I'm going to show you great and mighty things that you didn't even conceive of happening. But what are the odds, Perry, of me being able to say that the Treasury Secretary is a friend of mine, that the Treasury Secretary wants to meet with these black entrepreneurs? I mean, who am I that thou art mindful of me, the Son of Man that thou hast visited me, Perry? So you have been a part of my journey, Perry, and I hope you continue to be a part, and I hope you can be a part of us actually delivering, because these entrepreneurs we've been talking about for years on your show, Perry, they're already successful. I just want them to have another level of success. And with this Treasury Secretary and this president, I think the sky's the limit, Perry.
Gosh, that's so beautiful, Renard. Beautiful. Black entrepreneurship, does there seem to be a particular area of growth versus another? Is it more in the tech? Is it more in business? I mean, where is the growth there?
Well, it's definitely tech. And Perry, what's interesting is I'm bringing together 20 just cutting edge blacks, all involved in AI and other areas of IT. And when you think of AI, I'm talking about the cutting edge, Terry. You don't think about black scientists and technologists involved in AI. But I have recently been introduced to this phenomenal group. And let's just say the White House is very interested in meeting with them, as well as the Treasury Secretary. So we hope to have that under our belt next month sometime. But yeah, so technology, I think that's the biggest growth opportunity. That's low-hanging fruit, not only for our black entrepreneurs, but for this Trump administration.
Beautiful. Let me point your attention, just a few moments we have left, Renard. How's the black church doing, in your opinion?
Wow, I'm very disappointed in the black church and the church at large. But in the black church, you got folks like the T.D. Jakes, who's an abomination to God, people like Jamal Bryant, all these are friends of mine. They have prostituted and sugarcoated the gospel of Jesus Christ to where it has become unrecognizable. And Perry, normally in a time of turmoil and change and chaos, people flock to the church. People are leaving the church because they see the behavior of preachers across the country, and specifically in the black church, that leave them wanting. I mean, the church used to be the city shining on the hill, the light, the beacon. Now we've covered our light, Perry, and we've become more secular and tried to water down the gospel of Jesus Christ. And the state of the church is very poor right now, Perry, very poor.
Do you see a revival on the horizon?
Not until there's further crisis and devastation, because I think we're not going to go through the preacher in the near term, Perry. People are just going to take revival upon their own shoulders, and they're going to revive the church, not necessarily through the institution of the church, Perry, but among the people of the church. And I think the church, as you and I know it, the bricks and mortar, may be a path to our past versus the reconfiguration of the church coming from the people. And I think a lot of this is going to start with a lot of us meeting in gymnasiums and hotel ballrooms and in our homes to get this church back on track.
That's well said. One last question. I'm so happy for you personally what's going on and how God's answering your prayers and in a big way on advancing black entrepreneurism. And I realize Republicans are really lax in bringing black entrepreneurs into the circle, so to speak. But let me ask you this. Do you think you'll see more black conservatives run for public office?
Oh, without question, without question. That's going to happen, especially you're going to see a lot of black entrepreneurs because they've reached a certain level of success, Perry, where paying their bills, taking care of their kids' college education, that's no longer a subject of debate within their family. So they're looking at, God, you've blessed me to this level. What can I do to give back? And a lot of black entrepreneurs see that you have to have political power and access to fortify some of the changes that they know will not only help them have a thriving business environment, but also the Democrats have gone so far where they want to mutilate 4 and 5-year-old kids and tell them they can have surgical procedures at 5 or 10 years old. And a lot of these parents are homeschooling, Perry. Within the homeschooling movement, the biggest increase is within the black community. We're taking our kids out of public school and keeping them at home, putting in the conservative values that were important to us growing up. And so look for more black entrepreneurs to run for political office and to win. Byron Donalds, a dear friend of mine, congressman from Naples, Florida, he hopefully will be the next governor of Florida next year.
Very, very inspiring. Thank you, Renard. You're a blessing, my friend. You're looking good. And
thank you.
I can't wait to give you a big hug someday when we do something together.
We're going to do that too. Between now and June, I'm making that a commitment, Perry. I'm coming out there, and we're going to love on each other and love on your community together.
Okay. Good to see you, bro. Thanks.
Thank you, my friend.
Spring is around the corner and summer is on its way. With fire danger biting at its heels, flammable blackberries and underbrush will grow like gangbusters and sprout fire danger in no time. A wise property owner knows the best time to take care of fire danger is to extinguish it before it gets started. GMV Forestry, LLC can help you protect your property with adequate firebrush clearing to fireproof a zone around your precious property. With over 35 years experience, GMV Forestry LLC has the knowledge, experience, and all the equipment you need to get the job done right, offering a wide variety of services like mulching, field mowing, snow removal, driveway clearing, ditch cleaning, gravel delivery and spreading, driveway sweeping, logging, and more. GMV Forestry LLC does it all, and they do it right. GMV Forestry LLC, the team you can trust. 541-660-6445. 541-660-6445.
Your property demands equipment with more reliability, durability, and versatility built in. Kubota equipment is ready to get the job done right.
At Kelly's Automotive Service,
being good stewards of what God has entrusted to us
is at the core of our business.
We believe what we do matters.
Every interaction, every transaction is another opportunity
to bring Christ's values into the marketplace.
If you're a technician who wants to be part of something bigger,
or just looking for a new shop to bring your vehicle,
we would love to meet you.
We're Kelly's Automotive Service,
where we service your vehicle,
but take care of you.
Welcome back. Of course, the subject of the Middle East continues to be headlines across the world, and I am so honored to have back with us today Kenneth Abramowitz. He is the author of a fascinating book called The Multi-Front War, Defending America from Political Islam, China, Russia, Pandemics, and Racial Strife. He's the managing general partner and co-founder of the NGN Capital. He's been a contributor to various organizations that are fighting to protect Israel and America from political Islam and the radical left. He's the founder of SaveTheWest.com. It's a website dedicated to saving Western civilization from itself. And that is his website, SaveTheWest.com. Kenneth, good to see you again, friend. How are you?
Yeah, great to be with you.
Thanks for your time. So, a lot to talk to you about. I don't know if many people recognize, but apparently Israel and Lebanon have come to some kind of a border negotiation agreement. Explain it, and what do you think about it?
Well, I'm not a big fan of negotiated deals in the Middle East because I don't trust the other side to abide by any deal. So I prefer just military solutions because those are understandable. In other words, you just say, this is my border, and if you send bad guys to my border, I'm blowing them up. You don't need an agreement, a piece of paper that says that. You just need to blow up bad guys whenever they show up. But anyways, President Trump wants to try, and so fine, let's try to see if there can be a negotiated peace. I mean, there's not likely, but there's nothing wrong with trying.
So can you give us somewhat of an update on how influential Hezbollah is in Lebanon these days after all that's been done to them?
Well, Lebanon in round numbers is 1/3 Hezbollah, Shiites, 1/3 Sunni Arabs, and 1/3 Christians in round numbers. And the two are like always fight. But the Christians and Sunnis don't fight anymore. They used to, but they don't. So Hezbollah is the problem. But they're a third of the country, or their population's a third of the country. And they take orders from Iran. So Iran's not going to allow any normalization between Lebanon and Israel. So and they'll just order Hezbollah to make life difficult for the Christians and Sunni Arabs, Muslims who try to negotiate with Israel. So that's why I'm not a big fan of it until Hezbollah is destroyed and Iran is destroyed. I mean, that's the elephant in the room. And the elephant in the room makes the decisions. As they say, bad guys get to vote.
Yeah, so like you, I'm a little puzzled by why we're doing this land border negotiation. I don't know if this is just a pause in the action, but what is a land border? I mean, what are they negotiating here?
Well, Israel has 5 little bases in southern Lebanon, and the Lebanese government wants them to go. I don't want them to go. I mean, they're there for a reason. They're there to protect northern Israel. And I don't trust Lebanon, and I don't trust any agreement, and I don't trust Hezbollah, I don't trust Iran. So I don't want those 5 bases to go. But the Lebanese government says if you remove those 5 bases, maybe we'll have peace, or we'll protect your northern border. Well, Lebanon had 20 years to protect the northern border and didn't do it. So now they're going to do it. And half of the Lebanese army is Shiites, who I don't know if they're loyal to the government or if they're loyal to Hezbollah. And And I don't want, so anyways, they're dangling the idea of normalization with Israel in return for Israel withdrawing the 5 bases.
So what I'm sensing here is President Trump uses the term negotiation to maybe set up something that you're already convinced of, and that is that it won't work. And therefore, it gives him the open door to do something about it.
That would be my guess. President Trump didn't say that, but just guessing, I had a similar guess to your guess. And because President Trump doesn't like to lead with military power. He doesn't like to say, Lebanon, do the following things, I'm sending the Air Force. Iran, do the following things, I'm sending the Air Force. It's not his style. His style is to try to negotiate. But he does imply, whenever he's interviewed on TV or internet, he does imply, look, let's try it. And if it doesn't work, we'll try something else. And the something else is the U.S. Air Force.
Just the other day, he's trying to call Iran to the table. And he said, if you don't, then, again, quote, there's hell to pay. I mean, there's a strong part of his rhetoric here that suggests military action.
Yes. So I don't blame Trump for behaving the way he behaves. He knows full well negotiations in the Middle East don't usually resolve anything. And so he's clever. The only thing he's missing with Iran is that every day he doesn't confront Iran, their nuclear weapons get more perfected or bigger or more of them. And so to me, it's an existential risk to talk with Iran. It's not an existential risk to talk to Lebanon, but it is to Iran. Iran, there's no non-military solution for Iran.
Okay, so, we can jump over a lot of stuff, but it appears to me that some kind of action against Iran is inevitable, whether they take out the nukes, the refineries, or a regime change, or all the above. And to your point, time is running out. It seems to me we're close to some kind of action there.
Any day, any night, it's very close. If I were the President of the United States, I wouldn't wait another day. Because why should I let them develop their nuclear weapons more? They promised to take over the world and kill all Christians, Jews, and Hindus. I don't need any more evidence. 20 years ago, it's amazing. One of their leaders said developing nuclear weapons is a condition for Islam to take over the infidel West. We're in a state of war. By the way, the war has only been going on for 1,400 years. 1,400 years ago, roughly in the year 630, Muhammad and his followers declared war on the world. And they ended up taking over 75% of the Christian world. No one even remembers it because it was so long ago.
Well, again, I say this respectfully, but I don't think the West totally understands the Shiite-Sunni conflict.
Well, that's only been going on 1,400 years also.
Yeah.
So after Muhammad died, the majority of the people, a new leader was selected, and the majority of the people went for that new leader, and they're called Sunnis. The minority said, no, someone else should be the leader, and they were called Shiites. So that's the split from 1,400 years ago. Now, in contrast to Americans, pretend that we've been here for 1,400 years, and pretend that our great-great-great-grandfathers 1,400 years ago hated each other. We would say, well, look, that's Asian history. I can't change what happened 1,400 years ago to our great-great-grandfathers. But in the Middle East, people remember what happened 1,400 years ago, and they still fight about it. So it's just a different mentality.
Saudi Arabia has been part of the negotiations now with Russia and Ukraine. The Crown Prince has offered, the palace to host peace talks, which is kind of interesting. But at the same time, Saudi Arabia can't afford Iran to get a nuke. What do you think they're going to do about it?
Well, Saudi Arabia has two hopes because Iran would want to kill everybody in Saudi Arabia because most of the people in Saudi Arabia are Sunnis. And so Iran, remember I said Iran wants to kill all Christians, Jews, and Hindus. They also want to kill all Sunnis. And that's why I call them a death cult. They just want to keep killing. And by the way, in contrast to animals who only kill to eat, Iran just enjoys killing people. And Saudi Arabia is not happy. And there's two countries that can protect Saudi Arabia because they cannot protect themselves. So it's either America or Israel. And they actually trust Israel more than America because America is far away. Israel's right there. And so the irony is Saudi Arabia trusts Israel, the Jews, more than they trust the Christians to protect them. You can't make this stuff up.
Well, it's interesting information. So let me ask you this. Egypt is also now in the news more and more, and I think we're somewhat surprised of the delicate position that Egypt's in, but at the end of the day, they've been complicit. And so what's your take on Egypt?
Well, Egypt and Israel signed, in quotes, a peace treaty, let's say roughly 40 years ago. And Egypt hasn't honored it. Egypt's not supposed to have any armor in Sinai. And now with Israel's agreement, they have sent some tanks. But Israel theoretically has the right to say, okay, the threats of ISIS is over, so I want you to take those tanks out. So, but they're still there. And America was a signatory to it. So actually America should be saying to Egypt, get your tanks out of Sinai. Also, Egypt never really created warm relations with Israel. They still preach anti-Semitism in their mosques and in their schools, and they haven't transformed their society to the modern age. So that's it's another example why I'm not a big fan of peace treaties. Here, Israel gave up all the Sinai, and in return got basically nothing. And in fact, worse than nothing, Egypt used the Sinai to provide weapons to Hamas to kill and massacre 1,200 Israelis on October 7th. So yes, they're complicit.
I guess I'm trying to understand the tight spot that King Abdullah is in. I mean, his country is anti-Semitic, but he wants to be friends with the United States.
Well, you're talking about Jordan now?
Jordan, excuse me, yes.
Yeah. So, look, everyone wants to be the United States because the United States hands out money, right? So, if Egypt gets, I think, about $2 billion a year, Jordan maybe $1 billion, Israel gets $4 billion. Everyone wants to be America's friend. But in the Middle East, they take the money and then do whatever they want. You would think in return for that, that you would get something for it. But America's not very good at enforcing its will on these states, which I call frenemies. In other words, half friends, half enemies. Right. America doesn't enforce its will.
All right, let me take a quick break. Let me say to our viewers and listeners, you can check out a couple of things. His website, SaveTheWest.com, and his book, The Multi-Front War. There's a picture of the cover of the book and the landing page. We'll be right back.
State Farm agent Rory Wold is here to help protect all the moving parts in your life. With home, life, and financial services, Rory and his team make it simple to bring together what matters to you.
Come fall in love with Northridge Senior Living, where contemporary sunlit interiors meet old world elegance. Walk through our lovely hallways and enjoy the fun staff-led activities. Forge lasting friendships with other residents and our exceptional caregivers. Dine in style. Gather near the fireplace under breathtaking chandeliers. reasonably priced apartments are spacious with private balconies. Northridge is Christian-owned and operated, pet-friendly, and only 2 blocks from Asante Rogue Regional Medical Center. On-site 24/7 in-home care is available. We also offer senior adult daycare where your loved one can spend the day with us and the evenings with you. Northridge Senior Living, your home.
Hello, my name is Todd Friel, host of Wretched TV, seen right here on Dove TV. Some people say Wretched. That's a perfect name for the contents of the TV program I host. We call it Wretched because we understand we're wretched sinners in need of an amazing Savior, and we have one. Would you like to grow in your knowledge of Jesus Christ? We invite you to join us for Wretched.
Okay, welcome back, and always honored to have with us Kenneth Abramovich. He is the author of The Multi-Front War, which is an amazing book. He's involved in so many things, but he has a website that's very resourceful called the Save the West, and that is also a website, founder of SaveTheWest.com, so check that out. Kenneth, I was trying to figure out during the break how to ask you this. I mean, in Lebanon, you got Hezbollah, you got the Houthis in Yemen, you got Hamas in Gaza. Now you got Turkey and Syria. And the last couple of days has been pretty bloody. Why in the world doesn't the West see this?
Well, you just described one of the reasons I wrote the book. Around 10 years ago, when I was researching the world, national security, which is now about a 25-year endeavor on my part since 9/11. Searching for the truth for 25 years. About 10 years ago, I realized America is in World War III. We don't call it World War III, I do. But I just mean, by that I mean everyone's fighting everybody everywhere. In contrast to World War I and II, where everyone was fighting over there. Remember the famous song, Over There? But in World War III, I borrowed a phrase from the Beatles song, here, there, and everywhere. So the war is here, there, and everywhere. And I said to myself, wow, I have to write about this because we're fat, dumb, and happy in America. We think the oceans are protecting us and Canada and Mexico are protecting us. And meanwhile, there's a war going on and we don't even know it. And that's the essence of my multi-front war book.
So what do we do with Syria? And you got Turkey going in there, and they're a member of NATO. I mean, it doesn't get any more confusing than that.
Every country you're talking about is run by humans, right? But I have an expression that sometimes humans behave like animals. And so when humans behave like animals, they should be treated like animals. And so the Syrian government was run by Assad, President Assad, who was a friend of Iran, and you could call him a Shiite animal, so to speak. And he was replaced by one of Turkey's friends, and Jalani, who you could say is a Sunni animal. So we just replaced one animal with another animal, but they're still animals. And by that, I mean, when you have animals, human animals, they make all decisions with guns. So they just shot about a few thousand Alawites who are a Shiite sect. So they were aligned with Iran. And to teach them a lesson, they went into the roughly 10% of the country in the West that's controlled by the Alawites and started shooting everybody. It's beyond our comprehension because we don't go around shooting people who are different from us. By the way, we're all different from each other. I call us all 95% the same and 5% different. So can you imagine going around saying, oh, you're 5% different from me, I'm going to shoot you? It's ridiculous, okay? And but that's the Middle East. In the Middle East, then there's no toleration for minorities, and they basically kill the minorities unless Israel or America protects them.
So If there is some kind of altercation with Iran, how will that impact what's going on in Syria?
Well, Iran wanted to take over the Middle East. They had this grand plan of arc of resistance to, and they had pretty much taken over Lebanon, taken over Gaza, taken over Syria, taken over Iraq. And they thought they were going to surround Israel and then pounce on Israel and destroy Israel. Now, if they were able to destroy Israel, which they're not, but if they were, then they could claim the victory over the Sunnis. You see, this is part of the Sunni-Shiite rivalry. Only about 15% of Muslims are Shiite and 85% are Sunni. So if Iran could say, oh, I destroyed Israel, I should be the leader of the Muslim world, they could then take over the Muslim world and then take over the Christian world. So remember, this is an uncontrollable death cult. In the history of bad guys, death cults, is they're only stopped when they're stopped. I mean, Hitler was a death cult, but he only stopped when he was stopped. Stalin ran a death cult. So you don't just stop and say, oh, I'm happy. I've taken up all these countries. I stole all this gold and silver or whatever. I'm happy. They're never happy. They have to be defeated. And that's the key issue that the Trump administration is going to have to eventually focus on. Iran is the greatest source of evil in the world today and must be stopped.
Okay, so does the current activity in Syria disqualify Turkey from being a member of NATO?
Well, there's many reasons Turkey shouldn't be in NATO. I mean, it's historically there from the 1950s because we were so afraid of Russia. So, and Turkey is very close to Russia geographically. So it was a decent idea in the 1950s. But now that the conflict between Jews and Christians is, and between Christians and Muslims is so acute, with the Muslims threatening to take over Europe. By the way, there's 400 million Christians in Europe. In 100 years, there may be no Christians in Europe. Okay, and Turkey's been expelling these migrants from Syria into Germany and other countries, trying to destabilize those countries. So Europe is about 10% Muslim, and remember, the Muslims don't accept minority status. So there's a huge war brewing in Europe. Well, anyways, Turkey's part of it. So yes, Turkey should be. It's very complicated because you can argue it either way. But I would say keep Turkey in NATO, but give them conditions. Like if you send soldiers into Syria and Israel blows them up, I'm not protecting Turkey. That has nothing to do with NATO. That's an offensive action by you, Turkey. And don't expect NATO support if you get into a fight with Israel. So America has to state conditions. You can't just let the world descend into chaos.
So a couple other quick questions, Kenneth. Can you give us a current update on what is the situation now with Hamas in Gaza and the hostages?
Okay, so remember, in the Middle East, everything's a can of worms. There's like nothing that's simple. Mm-hmm. Well, it's simple and complicated at the same time. So let me try to make it simple. Israel wants all its hostages back. 251 were taken on October 7th as part of the Hamas genocide against Israel. By the way, Hamas killed 1,200 Israelis. They would have killed all 10 million Israelis if they had had enough bullets, and if Israel didn't stop them. So remember, I said death cults get stopped when they're stopped. They don't just stop because they feel like stopping. So anyways, of the 251 hostages, approximately 60 are left, and there's a feeling that 25 are alive. So Israel wants them back. Now, Hamas, for its part, says we'll give them back, but leave Gaza. Let us stay in Gaza, and we'll forget about October 7th and have a nice day. Well, Israel's not in a mood to do that. So Israel and America are trying as much as they can to get the remaining 60 hostages, dead or alive, back. But whenever the music stops, and it could stop in 10 days, the Israel Defense Forces are going to go back into Gaza and kill every single member of Hamas, or capture them. They can surrender if they want. Otherwise, they're all going to be dead. And by the way, the 60 hostages will be dead too. So Israel knows that if it goes back into Gaza, the hostages are dead, and that's why it doesn't want to go back into Gaza right now. But eventually, in a week or 2 or 3, they're going to have no choice but to go back.
Well, whatever agreement, to your point, that they've made so far, I mean, Hamas and Israel has been violated by Hamas, and they're still lobbing missiles, and they're still doing things. So it sounds like to me it's just a matter of time, to your point. They're going to have to go in and finish the job, and it could cost the life of the hostages.
Yes, and it's tragic. By the way, in the Middle East, every day is a day of tragedy, because, as I said, they've been fighting for 1,400 years. So this is just a continuation of the Muslim war against Jews, Christians. There's no Hindus there, but if the Muslim terror organizations killed all the Jews and Christians, they'll then try to kill all the Hindus. And then they'll kill each other. Because, it's my point, when you're a death cult, you just keep killing because for some reason you enjoy killing. But so Israel's trying, America's trying to figure out some way to get those hostages back. But Hamas knows that if they release those 60 hostages, all the Hamas death cult members will be killed by Israel. And that's why Hamas wants to hold on to those hostages. So Hamas is acting irrationally from their point of view.
If the remaining hostages are killed, does Netanyahu survive?
Yes, because the Israeli population wants the hostages back, but they also want all the Hamas death cult members dead. So so they've tried as hard as they could to negotiate. By the way, of the 251 hostages, we're down to 60. So the majority have been brought mostly alive back. But yes, Netanyahu will survive. There's an election coming up, and I think in about 2 years. The opposition's trying to create an election earlier than that. But there's no reason to have an election while you're in a full-scale war with everybody. Everyone we just talked about, Israel's in a full-scale war. You don't need an election right now. You only need bullets and bombs and start winning. That's what the Israeli population wants, and they think Netanyahu is the biggest winner that they have.
Wow. All right, one last quick question. With all the pause that's going on, I can't help but think that the military coffers of Israel is being restocked by the United States.
Well, America supplies about 2/3 of Israel's weapons, and the Biden administration, we suffered for 4 years. Everyone suffered 4 years with the Biden administration. Right. They withheld weapons, but now the Trump administration is fully supplying Israel, so that problem has been fixed.
All right, go to SaveTheWest.com. That's Kenneth's website. Check out his book, The Multi-Front War. There's a picture of the landing page, and there's a picture of the cover of the book. You can get that online, but go to the website. Very resourceful, SaveTheWest.com. Thank you, sir. It's always an honor to have you. Let's stay connected.
Okay, anytime you want. Pleasure to be with you.
What if your next ride was more than just a ride?
What if it was an epic adventure filled with unforgettable memories?
At Panoramic Moto Tours, we take you beyond the ordinary, offering curated routes, privately guided with all the details handled.
Our passion is to share the joy of riding